We're playing this weekend, catapulting it to the #8 most played of all time spot.
Jesus.
The gaming community has sung its praises, and it's incredibly refreshing to play a feature-complete game of this caliber.
Isn't it so weird to hear that word? Like, every time that I hear feature complete, it's like unlocking a core memory that is from like 2001.
On day one. But AAA game developers want you to know
it's like
that this is
a forgotten time.
Rockstar level nonsense for scope, that it's foolhardy to set expectations higher, and Baldur's Gate 3 should not be used as a raised standard to RPGs going forward. Why was the first response to defend the current state of AAA gaming as opposed to saying,
because they're working in AAA gaming and they are making the shit games that people don't like. So whenever somebody makes a shit game, or sorry, makes a game that people do like, they get defensive because whenever you compare it to their game looks bad. That's why. It's pretty simple, really.
hey, maybe we can learn a thing or two from Baldur's Gate 3 and make our game better for our customers.
That's not the goal. It's not the goal is to make the game better for the customer. It's to make the game better for the shareholder. Now, sometimes those goals align, for sure. But let's not forget that there's a 1 and a 2. And gamers are the 2.
This all kicked off way back on July 8th, a lifetime ago by internet standards, I know, when a writer and BAFTA nominee, Xavier Nelson, took to Twitter to express...
By the way, this guy, I feel like a lot of what he said wasn't entirely wrong, and it was mainly a criticism of the way that AAA gaming is not willing to take risks on things. Is not like, I actually think that almost everything this dude said, like, I went through every tweet, every video he did. He was right. It's just that it was expressed in a way, especially whenever it's expressed without context, and given the context of like everything else he said, people can pick out that line and be like, you know, like, what the fuck. I actually agree with some stuff he said. Yeah, he was right with a lot of stuff.
Concerns about Baldur's Gate 3, namely that fans would use Baldur's Gate 3 to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward. My rebuttal is, why shouldn't customers have raised standards? Taking it a step further.
Well, because if they have raised standards, then it will become more difficult for you to give them video games that are bad, that take less effort and cost more money. So, like, for example, like, let's say McDonald's, let's say Burger King. I don't really like McDonald's hamburgers that much. I love Burger King. I think Burger King's amazing. People sleep on Burger King all the time. They're wrong. Anyway, let's say Burger King says, you know what, guys? We've had it. We've had enough with these single hamburgers. From now on, we are only selling double hamburgers at the price of single hamburgers. Only doubles for the same amount of money from now on. You know who's going to be mad about that? Doctors. And also Wendy's. And Whataburger. And Culver's. Steak and Shake. McDonald's. All of the other burger places are going to be mad. Because now they have increased the standard. And everybody else has to either meet that standard or not. And that's why it's bad for them. 30,000 years ago, I went to business school. I have a business degree. I'll never forget whenever we had our marketing professor tell us that a price war isn't good for anybody. And that's the way they think.
Further, why shouldn't some AAA developers raise their own standards? Are we really going to pretend that consumers shouldn't be a little upset right now and hoping for an improvement in the industry going forward? Rockstar just announced a $50 remake, conversion of the original Red Dead Redemption for the PlayStation 4 and Switch that has no mention of a 4K update, no mention of 60 FPS, and no mention of multiplayer support. The game came out 13 years ago, and the Xbox port does everything they're offering, and then some for free with your 360 copy. Go buy a brand new copy of the Game of the Year edition on Amazon right now for $30, and you're good to go. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, when released on PC, had furious fans citing numerous problems getting the game to run, frequent crashes, and similar problems on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox. EA apologized and is still working to fix the issues.
That's actually not true. They did fix the issues, and the problems with Jedi Survivor were solved. It's okay now. I played through almost all of it. And so, yeah, they did actually improve it. However, yes, it was very bad on release, and it was not acceptable. They did? Yeah, they did.
Destiny 2 just released a State of the Game blog saying, amongst other things, that they don't have the resources to release new ritual armor every season. But that same studio manages to create new armor sets in the shop for up to $20 a pop with...
Well, yeah, because that's on the store, and they make money from the store, and they don't make money from people playing the game. What the hell do you expect?
Without fail every season. Diablo 4 unabashedly has several character skins priced at $20 each and just released their first season that had a patch that was so poorly thought out that the developers had to have an emergency live stream to apologize. And
they also had to have an emergency live stream to apologize for the first emergency live stream that wasn't received well, which is still better than Lost Ark, who is now going on, I'm pretty sure, an apology world tour.
Have since begun working to revert those changes.
Yes.
We don't plan on doing a patch like this ever again.
Okay, you need a more comparable
Until
RPG
Season
example
2.
of why fans are heralding Baldur's Gate 3 as a breath of fresh air. Look no further than Mass Effect Andromeda, which was widely panned.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything.
Or Cyberpunk 2077 that made promises about last-gen game consoles that it couldn't keep. It took CDPR almost a year to get that all sorted out.
Well, that looks like shit. That looks like fucking garbage. Wow. Yeah, no wonder people are mad.
I'll make this as clear as possible to contextualize how fans are feeling. It feels like money has become more important than the core experience for fans. That's why
it feels like... Yeah, you could say it feels that way. As a matter of fact, I think it does. Yes. Yes, I concur. I believe this. This is very true.
Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, and even The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are being widely celebrated. So what is up with the excuses? A game came along that is amazing, is selling well, is being praised by developers and fans alike, and the response is, well, we can't do that. Well, sweet. If that doesn't get me hyped for Mass Effect 4, I don't know what will. Xavier's tweet was well-intentioned, and he went on to add a lot of important...
He made a lot of very good points. Like, there's nothing wrong with what he said.
Context, but I think it misses the perspective of the consumer.
But yeah, it does. And this is the thing, is developers need to stop. Like today, for example, I said I was going to play Final Fantasy 16. I had some serious shit come up, and I didn't even go live until past 2 in the morning. But that's not your problem.
I was a fucking legend.
And so I said, sorry, it's too bad. I'll try to do it tomorrow and do better. Like, nobody gives a fuck about, oh, it's so hard. Shut the fuck up, pussy. Stop crying. Either do it or you don't. And it's like, if you're not gonna do it, that's fine. But stop fucking going and looking for somebody to pat you on the back for not doing it. Holy fuck, just like nobody cares about, oh, it's so hard. Oh, well, this is, bro, you're talking to people that work in construction and you're gonna say that it's hard? Your job could be more demanding than that. I don't know. But guess what? To them, it's not.
I don't know anything about game design or how hard it is.
We don't give a fuck. We want a game. I don't know anything about how to build a car, but if I get that bitch with 3 wheels and they want me to pay for the 4th one as DLC, I'm gonna be pissed.
We just know that Destiny is deleting hundreds of dollars worth of expansions when they feel like it, that Diablo is constantly reminding us to buy skins in their store, and most PC ports have been abysmal lately.
Yeah, they have been.
Remember, that tweet was made nearly a month before Baldur's Gate 3 blew up, and it was still contentious with fans.
Keep in mind, Remnant 2 was not a problem on PC. It was, some graphics were, problematic, but, it was like high definition, but overall it was pretty good.
speaking up about their frustrations, and developers chiming in to say what
Baldur's
felt
Gate
like
2.
game
Baldur's
development
Gate-
is hard,
Baldur's Gate 3
you
as
don't
well.
get it, be quiet. Baldur's Gate 3 is a game from a large, passionate studio that refuses to add microtransactions, gave players early access so they could address any problems that arose before launch, and is taking Steam charts by storm. So why should fans not use that as a gold standard of how to do it right?
It is.
And why would a AAA studio not look at it and say, hey, maybe cramming microtransactions into our game isn't a good look?
Because most of the people that develop games are talentless losers that can't make a good game and don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's the real reason. That's actually the reason. It's the same thing as movies. It's just a joke. They have no fucking idea what they're doing. They make trash games with trash mechanics, and people don't like them. It's the same with most jobs. Yeah, it is. Most people are shitty at their job, I would say.
When Mass Effect 4 comes out, I don't want to see a $20 Liara skin, and I hope that its performance is tested.
Well, if you don't want to see it, then you don't fucking buy the game. That's the thing. It is like, if you purchase the game,
There's a lot of people making video games that aren't
they're
good.
gonna keep making
What?
them. That's why FIFA
What?
comes out every year with a new Ultimate Team.
What?
For you to buy the same
Am I too
fucking
loud?
card you did last time. And the thing is, like, I am sick. Like, I'll talk about this and complain about it all fucking day. But let's be honest, it's not going to go anywhere.
Take it.
Nothing's going to matter. It's not going to change. So, yeah.
How's that?
across all platforms before release. Am I in the wrong for not wanting microtransactions?
Skin looking
in a
great
stable
looks like
video
you've
game
been
at launch?
touching grass.
It's not that you're
Growth.
in the wrong. It's that you're in the
Grass!
minority. You're right.
How's that?
But
Better?
most people
Still
are
too
fucking
loud?
dumb, and they'll buy them anyway, and they'll buy into the game, and they won't care. That's just the way it goes, because gamers, every gaming boycott is only 1 3-minute
How's that?
cinematic away from being over. We already saw that with
Too
Diablo
soft?
4. And I guarantee
Too mellow?
you, whenever Diablo 5 comes out, everybody's going to be saying the same goddamn thing.
Credit where credit's due now. There have been some really good examples of
Hey, guys.
AAA games like the Dead Space remake,
How are
and the
you?
Resident Evil 4 remake come to mind,
People like that
both of
one a
which have
lot.
been massive successes for EA and Capcom. Vampire Survivors
I
came
wanted
out
to talk
and took
about
the
this
internet
whole
by storm
Baldur's Gate
last year.
thing.
Do I need to bring up Elden Ring again? But that tweet
What about Halls of
blew
Torment?
up in the development sphere, and frankly, the pushback is just ridiculous. Developers
pushback
should
People are
was
sick of getting
ridiculous.
excuses of why their games suck dick. I don't want to hear about, oh, it's hard to make the game work on PC. Oh, well, if it's so fucking hard, maybe you shouldn't have charged me $70 for it. Why don't you charge me $40, and then maybe I'll pay you the extra $30 whenever you decide to figure out what the fuck you're doing. Oh, but it's so hard. Oh, but it's so hard. Oh, get the fuck. Nobody cares.
It's so hard, though.
Nobody gives a fuck. It's the same as I tell you guys as streamers.
That's bad.
Oh, people make a mean comment. They said I was
Maybe I
fat.
see my booba.
They said, oh my god. Oh
In a
my
Batman
god.
shirt.
I'm gonna make a tweet about it.
Queen, thank you so much.
like,
16
Nobody
months.
wants to see
Prime.
this shit.
You're a legend.
Nobody gives
Appreciate
a
you so
fuck
much.
about how you
Hi,
feel.
Train.
Dance, monkey, dance. What
Tap
are you
3.
doing? And we're all monkeys.
Thank you so much for the prime.
If I go to your store, and you're
Appreciate
not
you guys.
you,
What a
but
welcome
you,
back.
but
No,
the
Rent's
loyal
due, I
you.
guess. That's why we're back,
And,
right?
and you're not, you're like,
Classic.
oh, well, you know, I'm on my phone because, you know, my
Got
car's
those
in the
bills to
shop.
pay.
It's like, I can understand it a bit, but like, if this takes more than 5 seconds,
Oh,
I'm
we
gonna
gotta
be
get the dick in
upset
the
because
salad.
I came here to get a fucking hamburger and you're on your goddamn phone. Nobody
Medicine
gives
Man,
a fuck
thank
about
you.
your personal problems.
What is that?
Everybody is understanding to an extent.
What is that?
But
Is that
to
a-
the
is
extent
that
that
a
you are
five-
receiving a
$5
subpar
donation? Is that
product,
some sort of Twitch
that kindness
bits thing?
is
I don't-
very limited.
looking at what Baldur's Gate 3 did and trying to replicate where they
What are
can,
these new
not
things?
jumping up to defend games that are cramming in practices that fans are getting fed up with.
You know?
It's
And make no
hype
mistake
chat.
about it, these decisions impact game design. Many games are utilizing battle
talk about
passes
Diablo.
and player engagement as a metric of success. For
That's
a
right. That's what matters. It's not about who's having fun. It's
We
about
got
who's
so
playing
much
the
to
game.
talk about.
player, that means more grindy missions. That means more reminders to stop in the shop. It means a boring grind because keeping players engaged is a key metric. Many of the people who came out to talk about why Baldur's Gate 3 shouldn't be the new standard have since walked back those statements, and I'm glad, because if the industry can't take a good hard look at what's going wrong, why fans...
I think the problem is that you do have a lot of, like, it's a two-prong issue. Is that I do think the developers and designers for a lot of games are talentless hacks. They have no fucking idea how to run their game, and they probably would just be better off if they just let all decisions be made by a poll by the player base, because they have no actual insight into game development. You listen to somebody like Kevin Jordan, one of the original designers for Classic WoW, talk about game design. This is a fucking artist. You listen to one of these new guys explain why they need to have a fucking microtransaction in a single-player game. This is a fucking con artist, all right? That's the difference. And the other thing, I forgot what it was. What was I going to say?
Because if the industry can't take a good hard look at what's going wrong...
Oh,
why...
right, that's right. And so the other thing is that
Let's go back to dancing.
To that. Is that a lot of times the good developers are getting handicapped by the executives, by upper level management, by people that are basically a living proof of the Peter principle. If anybody doesn't understand that, that's the idea that you get promoted up and up and up and up to a point of incompetence. And guess what? You don't get promoted anymore because you're bad at your current job. And so you have a corporation full of those people, and the other people that are being hired in. This person just used to work at Volvo. Now they're coming to work at Activision. Well, guess what? They don't know shit about video games. They've worked in the car industry for 30 years. So yeah, they've got no idea. Like the video game they played, the last video game they played was Tetris back in the 80s, and they had to quit, you know, because real life took over. They had to go to college at that point.
I was too busy for Tetris.
This person has no fucking idea what's going on, and they're making decisions for you. They're setting timetables that are unrealistic. It's just crazy. So yes. There is an element of this where, like, you have developers that I think do want to do something good, and it just turns out to be bad. But I'm going to be honest. I think there's also a lot of bad developers and bad designers.
So that I haven't watched this one. This is a different take from Asmongold than he originally had. By the way, Benny, thank you so much, Medicine Man. You rule. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I was trying to find a video where he originally talked about the tweets that were being sent out by that guy complaining about the new standard for Baldur's Gate 3 and whatnot. And Asmongold's take was good for the most part, but he agreed on a few more things than I would have agreed on. And so I wanted to go into some detail about that whole series of tweets. But now I'm seeing this one, and I don't think I definitely haven't seen this one because he mentioned my name. But his take here is a lot closer to my thoughts this time. Like, I feel like between that original take and this one, he was like, you know what, fuck them. Right? He got a little more hardcore, right? Which, yeah, I couldn't believe that take, but we'll let him finish and then I'll go into my thoughts.
There's a lot of really bad ones.
There's some bad developers.
And I don't think we should make any fucking excuses.
That's right.
There's no designer, no developer, no executive. Bobby Kotick wasn't sitting behind the designer for River Lewis saying,
I think
make
you're right.
The color of the fireballs the same color as the floor. No, he wasn't doing that. Yeah, it was just a fucking idiot.
I think there
had
was a
no idea how to do their
pre-launch,
job.
and then there was a
Fans
post
reacted the way they did to Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And
not
then
early
making
access,
impactful
but
changes.
wasn't there like an early
Also, people seem to be
release
using the
and
fact that
then
Larian
general
is a big
release?
studio against them. The fact
Yeah.
that they had a long
maybe
development
there was
cycle
just
against them.
like a
Really?
I-
Blizzard is also a huge studio with over 8,000 1,500
Let me say
employees
no to these
across
ads for a
several
bit.
offices.
No!
They credited every employee at
Thank you, Eric
Blizzard
T.
in
Appreciate
the
you.
release of Diablo 4. Bungie is a huge studio with over 1,552 employees
Yep.
across several offices. BioWare is a huge studio with over 500 employees across several
Yeah, but for them it's different.
Yeah, it's different.
Why is it different? Because it is. There it is.
offices.
Actually,
And
Thank you so
reality's
much,
been
Aaron.
different.
Appreciate
Industry's
you
made
so
the people of
much.
Hearts of Love and games that work at Blizzard. And
All
make
the
them hate
greats
their
are
job.
back. We
That's
got
why games become
Micro
shitty.
and
No, I don't
Queen
believe
and
that.
Medicine Man.
I think that
and
just with
Bus
everybody else, every other job, there's people that are bad at their fucking
And
job.
Who else we got?
I think it's
Medicine
actually just that
Man
simple.
And who
I
else
think that
we
you're
got?
right in a lot of cases.
No
that there are
values
people
for
who have their soul
Kobo.
crushed,
Not toxic.
and now they don't try as hard. You're definitely right about that too. It's not that you're. I
rest
think that
of you
we're
are
both
right.
right.
I
I think
could
you're
give
right,
or
and
take.
I also think I'm right.
No, I love you all.
Arian is
great
also
ones.
a large studio with
They're
over
all great.
400
I mean,
employees
being
across
here
several offices.
within the first
All of them
20
have
minutes,
established
I was
beloved
a fucking
IPs with a ton of lore to pull
That's right.
from. All of them have a lot of money to make video
when I haven't
games.
been on for
And all of them had a long time to
9
make
months,
anything they
over 9
wanted to
months.
make. To say Baldur's Gate 3 is successful because it's aligned with Dungeons and Dragons is insanity. You think 800,000 Steam players are playing a game called Baldur's Gate 3 because of Dungeons and Dragons? No. It's clearly
Ridiculous.
gone far beyond that audience.
This guy
I don't
is-
know anything
he's
about
pretty much
Dungeons
on
and
point.
Dragons. I didn't know this game had anything to do
Oh.
with Dungeons and Dragons. And you know why I'm playing it? Because I like good games with a heavy focus on storytelling and bears. But
stream of
anyway,
Moon
Honestly,
King.
good one.
I
Like,
peaked.
That's
I've
one of the
peaked on
reasons
my
why I
Druid
wasn't really
gameplay
that interested
back
in this
when
game.
Mad
Like
Cease
if
put
I
together
play
that video.
this
You
game,
know the one.
right, which I
The
am
one we can't
strongly
watch on stream
considering,
'cause of the
we will
music.
obviously have the dream team of probably me, McConnell, Grayson, maybe Riku, maybe Bean, maybe S-Fan. Right?
What was that?
Like that probably interested in this game. Like if I play this game, right, which I am strongly considering, we will obviously have the dream team of probably
Never gonna
me, McConnell, Grayson, maybe Riku, maybe Bean, maybe S-Fan. Right?
The bottoms.
Like that probably would be the group
What up,
of
Brunt?
individuals.
How are you supposed to?
it wasn't all doom and gloom from the development side. Thank you, Juno Blees, formerly of Riot, for
Oh,
jumping
got
in
Jay
and
too.
echoing
Yeah, there you
exactly
go. Yeah,
what
you're
I'm
up
saying
late, man.
here. Her quote
True.
tweet reads, "I can't disagree with this one more. Whenever a game disrupts the industry and delights players beyond expectations, it absolutely raises industry and genre standards regardless of why and how. We should look at the Larian success story and ask ourselves, how are we going to make our games
This
better?"
is what happened with FPS games, bro. Halo came in there, fucking walked up to the table, put their
That's a good
dick on
take.
the table,
Way to
and
go,
they said,
Juno.
"Listen, bitch, this is how it's gonna be." And it took Activision a long
sorry.
fucking
What
time.
happened?
Fucking walked up to the
We
table.
should look at the Larian success story
what
and ask
happened?
ourselves, how are
Did
we
somebody
going to
order
make
a
our
salad?
games
This
better?
is what happened with FPS games, bro. Halo came in there, fucking walked up to
Halo?
the table, put their dick on the table, and they said, "Listen,
No.
bitch, this is how it's gonna be." And it took Activision
Okay, Halo on console, maybe. Yeah, Halo was a good one of the probably the first good console FPS, but it was still a console FPS, which was dog shit compared to actual like mouse and keyboard or PC. But yeah, it was good. But come on.
a long fucking time. But you know what? They finally came back and they made Modern Warfare 2. And that's what happens. Is that whenever you have great games, you have more great games.
And create the next games that shake up the industry. Players should and must always expect more from us,
Expect
never less.
more.
Thank you. I implore AAA devs to look at these games that are being celebrated and look at your pipeline to see why the consumer is getting frustrated about the experience I outline in this video. And obviously
Starfield,
try and
here
make
you
an
come. Oh,
improvement.
jeez, Ron.
Because telling me how hard it is when you're breaking profit and revenue records
wanna see you
isn't
stream
a super
playing
compelling
Starfield.
argument from the
Oh,
customer's
God.
perspective.
That's the thing, is it's about the customer's perspective. And this is what matters, right? This is what I said about streamers. Like, I never...
It's all we had, yeah,
complained
totally,
about,
Dusty. It's
oh,
totally.
Streaming is
I love
so
it.
hard.
But we had been playing
Shut the
Team
fuck up.
Fortress and Counter-Strike, I think, by then.
Shut the fuck up. Go to a therapist. Nobody wants to hear it.
And Battlefield,
Stop
I
it.
think, by then.
Fucking stop. Nobody cares. Stop it.
Is Baldur's Gate 3 an outlier? Yes,
Yeah, it
but
is.
I for one wish it could become the standard, and being told to shut up because I don't know game design doesn't feel super constructive. But hey, I'm just
Well, it doesn't matter, you know, game design or not. Like, again,
I gotta learn those.
do you have to know game
window
design to
transition.
think that loading everybody's stash whenever you go into town is a bad idea? You have to be you have to go to school for 4 years to think maybe that's a little bit unnecessary.
some idiot on the internet who doesn't know anything about game design.
Back to
I guess
school,
I'll just
kid.
go buy my horse armor and call it a day.
Yeah.
Enjoy your $20 on top of your $100 for the collector's edition on top of your $15 for the battle pass. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, because I get why you're frustrated, and it's really frustrating to see people not saying, hey, maybe we could learn a thing or two from Larian. I'm enduring Baldur's Gate 3, and I hope game development continues to grow from where it is today. I hope you do too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And for more on all things gaming, keep it right here on IGN.
There it is. I think this was a really good video.
That was from
What the fuck?
IGN.
Like, this
Wow.
was, like,
Look at
I
that.
hardly ever see like rare IGNW. I feel like IGN
Wow.
usually has pretty good videos. I do. I mean, IGN makes more videos a day than I do. Like, yeah, they're gonna have some L's,
So
but
I'm,
I think
I'm gonna
I,
like the
I really,
leech.
I think that
the
usually they have
reactor
good videos.
streams,
That's why I
not
watch
the
them
original.
regularly. Yeah, I think it's pretty
Just
good.
to-
Thousands
just to
of L's.
put
I
my
mean, maybe
thumb
they,
in
they
the
had
eye
like
of
L's like 3 years ago. Like
all
I don't
the
know. Like
people
I'm just saying,
that
like ever
don't
since I've
like
been paying
reactor
attention to them and like
streamers.
watching their stuff, I feel like it's been very positive. And it's
And
been
you guys make sure you
maybe I'm
like
crazy,
mine,
but that's what I
not
think.
Asmongold's, when it comes up with my YouTube channel.
IGN used to be a big meme in the past.
Yeah.
Well, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck about what happened then? It's
Always
not, that's
be
not
it.
the past.
You want to be at the top of the street
Name one good video.
doing your showering.
I think they did a pretty good video about
Defecation,
Remnant.
not
I
the
also
bottom of
liked
the stream.
I think
know
that
what
the
I'm
video
saying?
they did about Tears of the Kingdom was pretty good.
I'm talking about a
I
mountain
liked
stream. I know
the
you
video
kids
they did.
talk about the,
Oh fuck, let me think.
you know, the streamers and whatnot. But I'm
The
talking
video
about,
for
like, nature.
fucking Lords of the Fallen I
Nature.
thought was pretty good. This one, obviously, right?
Trickle
I'm trying
up
to think besides this. The Honkai Star Rail one I think was
No.
pretty good too. The Dwarf Fortress video I think was S tier.
Asmon's
All right.
mom.
Oh, they're good. Name every
I got
good
news
video.
about
Yeah,
it.
true. And look, hey.
We shouldn't talk
If
about
if they
Asmon's
release a video that sucks big fat donkey dicks,
mom. Poor Asmon.
I'll watch that and I'll shit on it. But this one doesn't suck big
And
fat
toxic,
donkey
not
dicks.
toxic. Thank you
IGN's
so
Great
much
Daily
for the
Videos.
donation.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
The official name, I gotta buy it. It's not too deeply into what else I've been watching. How you guys doing? So nice to see you. How are you? We're gonna watch K-pop in the background. What should we talk about? Oh, we're gonna talk about Baldur's Gate. Yeah, so if I don't get distracted. So Baldur's Gate 3 is a pretty good game. It's like a really, really good CRPG. It is by no means perfect. Like by any means. There are a ton, like not a ton, but a lot of bugs in across all categories. And what happens? We forgive it because what the things that it does so well, it does so well. It just, and this is true of a lot of the games that we've loved in the past, right? Like if you look at the Dark Souls series and its UI, right? Or Witcher 3 and its UI and some of its controls, right? Like just about every game out there that we've loved historically, like World of Warcraft. Did anybody like that game? Do you remember trying to loot things in the first week? It was just like your character knelt down and then you never really got up because it had to check the database and the database servers were completely wrecked. And so, but you were just like, I'm going to keep playing. What other choice do I have? I love it. I'm having a good time. So you forget, right? Like, and yeah, you know, you still kind of remember it, but what else do you remember? You remember all the awesome things, right? So, um, unforgivable. That's right. Um, so yeah, like it's it's a really, really good game. And the thing that they blew out of the park was, of course, the choice and consequence, the reactiveness to your choices. A lot of RPGs, if you've played in the past, there's a few things here and there, but it tends to go wide, middle of the act, and then it narrows back down and forces you through the same sort of tiny little hoop at the end of the act, and then they start the second act and they let you go wide a little bit. And also, like, there's a few things, callbacks here and there, but they don't spin you off into a whole new reality. And then there's some games where you're on rails, but there's the illusion of freedom, right? There's the illusion that, oh, look at all these three crazy choices I can make. I can be the good guy, I can be the I don't care or sarcastic guy, or I can be the evil prick. And then if you save scum and you actually try all three, they all have the same like response in the dialogue and outcome, right? And so you can see like how paper thin, like, and you won't know this, right, until you play through, you know, a few times, but almost nobody does. Like most people, especially in really long RPGs, you don't really know this, but and then the better ones, you know, really do go crazy, but very few go off the rails like I feel Baldur's Gate 3 has. So the last game I put in this category is an old Obsidian game called Alpha Protocol. Alpha Protocol was that old RPG FPS where your choices were crazy different, and when you played through and you created your story and then you went and talked to a person who also played the game and got their story, they were totally different stories. And it was nuts, like who the main antagonist was, who you rescued, who you had this rivalry with, right? Like everything was crazy different. And I actually talked to I worked at Obsidian for a couple of years. And when I talked to them about, good night, Angry Belly. Thank you so much for the continued sub. Appreciate you so much. Have a great night. And yeah, so Alpha Protocol, I remember talking to the guys who worked on it at Obsidian when I was there. This actually came up in one of the interviews. They talked about, well, they ended up telling me a couple things, because I told them I played it much later than when it first came out, and a lot of people were were talking about how buggy it was when it first came out. Oh my god, is that what are those called? A capybara? Like, they've got a capybara in their video. It's amazing. So they talked about how the game was super buggy, and then I played it much later, which I assumed had been after they patched it a bunch. And then one of the guys was just like, actually, we never patched it. Like, we never had an opportunity to patch it. There was some argument with the developer, etc. And they were just like, you played the same version everyone else did. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, it honestly wasn't that bad. I was having such a good time that the bugs that they did have in the game were like not too derailing of the experience, right? So the other thing they also admitted was that there were so many potential avenues to go in the game because of the choice and consequence that they legitimately did not test them all. because the testers weren't made aware of some of the potential, combinatorics of story, that some of the pathways didn't even get tested. And if they worked, like if anybody had stumbled into one of those accidentally, then it would have been a miracle that everything worked, But they like found out later that, oh crap, we forgot to tell people about this and that kind of thing, this potential thing internally to test. So when I think about the like testing of a game like Baldur's Gate 3, which many of you have noticed by now, especially for people that restart the game a million times like I have, the depth of the choice and consequence and reactivity is pretty staggering. The testing requirements on that game are insane. So the fact that the game is relatively polished, and I say relatively because there's still a lot of bugs in it, is pretty nuts. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Even though there are bugs, I'm still pretty impressed. And it took them a long time, but they were dedicated to it and they committed to their craft. And so yeah, very good game. And the whole tweet thing about raising the standard and telling everyone to calm down and not expect too much from everyone else in the industry is such a, here's what I boil it down to. It's basically like pleading with people to allow developers that aren't very good to continue to make mediocre games and get paid a lot of money to do it, right? Essentially, it's like, we're not very good at this. We can't compete with that level of quality. And we still want to be paid. We still want everyone to buy our games, right? Because that's what the industry is now for a lot of studios, is capitalizing on the money that is available in the video game industry, right? There is a ton of money to be made, right, in this industry. And especially with like after coronavirus and movie theaters, and like the movie industry has taken a real hit. And but video games were crushing the movie industry for a while anyway, but even more so nowadays. And so tons of people flock to the industry, and a lot of the people that flock to it for the money, right? Like Bobby Kotick didn't get into it to make amazing games, right? And so he's there to make money, and a lot of other people are there, all the way from the top to the bottom, right? A lot of developers are trying to get in to make money. They don't care about the products. They care about personal wealth and promotion and climbing the ladder. And I saw a lot of this at Blizzard, and like it worries them that they actually, in order to make money, they have to put out something of quality, right? And because look how long the industry has been getting away with some pretty bad nonsense, right? Like loot boxes and cash shops and battle passes and all the other stuff. Yadi Kotick, yes. They can compete. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, they can compete, but I don't know that they know how to, right? Like, because look what the guy in the very tweets was saying, right? He was saying how they have a huge studio with tons of people. They have massive amount of funding, right? Which of course, once those comments were fact-checked, were found to be not true, right? They self-funded for the most part. And they have a large studio, but not like the biggest studios around, right? Like, and so the way a lot of these AAA studios think that they can be successful is by adding bodies, right? Like, look at the way WoW's been handled. There's like 300 to 400 people on that team now, you know, retail WoW's team now, and it's like, do you guys really have a better game than the 60 to 100 people that made, you know, vanilla? You know, not really, right? And so they haven't figured out like what the sauce is. They don't really understand, you know, why games are good, what makes them good. And so they're focusing on really weird other metrics. And it works, right? Like, because like the mobile game has proven that a game doesn't have to be particularly good in order for it to make a lot of money. It just has to, like, I don't know, for people that are core gamers that like look at mobile games and they're like, this isn't very fun. Why do people play this? You know, I'm in that camp. There's, you know, for every one of us, there's like 10 people that are, you know, not only playing the games, but spending a lot of money on them. And, like, Starfield, right, is another example. Like, why do we keep falling for this idea? Right? Like Starfield, I don't know if you guys have been watching, and some of you might have been playing, and you might be loving it, and I don't want to distract from your enjoyment, I really don't, but the idea, the promise of Starfield is that I can travel anywhere in space, right? And somehow magically the procedurally generated content is going to be worth exploring, right? That it will just be this endless canvas of fun, cool, interactive things to explore out in space, right? That's the dream that's in all the heads of the people that are super excited about Starfield, right? And so that's the dream that's presented. It's going to be this, right? And you're like, and then it hits like common consumer, and common consumer is like either just susceptible to marketing, or they're just naturally optimistic, you know, like maybe it will. I think it will just be awesome because I'm excited and I want it to be. Like, I had the same reaction to Darktide, the Warhammer 40K game. I just wanted that game to be amazing, and it turned out to be pretty awful, right? There were some good things for sure, but I wanted that game to be good. I wanted it to be good so badly. And so I was optimistic about it. And a lot of people are optimistic. There's nothing wrong with that. Some are pessimistic. Oh, it's never going to be bad. It's going to be awful. It's never going to live up, you know. And some people are naturally optimistic. So there's tons of optimistic people saying Starfield's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. Their hype is built well because they've crafted the hype arc. Their marketing is good, you know. But there's no fucking way that dream was ever going to come true. I'm sorry. There's just no way. Procedurally generated content is exactly what you'd think it would be if you look at it from an unbiased standpoint. It's bad. It's very bad. And then people are discovering this, right? They're discovering it very quickly. And not only is the dream like, yeah, they got me again, honestly. Like the whole class redo, I'm like, oh Jesus, here we go again. I gotta check it out again. Talking about Darktide. But anyway, so not only is like the core dream not really, we're just not there yet, right? For all of you people dreaming about AI generated content, we're also nowhere near that, in my opinion. I know everyone thinks it's going to be amazing, but I'm skeptical. But good content has to be made by a human being, and it takes time and energy and artistic craft, and there's just so much that goes into it. And so even if um, even if that dream could be true, I don't think the current Bethesda is the one to deliver it, if you know what I mean. Like, I think a lot of the talent has left that studio. I think, like, there's memes about Sweet Little Lies from Todd, right? Like, and that's the other thing people are quickly discovering is it's kind of a facade, right? Like, there's not much behind, the that exterior in certain areas. If you don't move too much, you won't see that. If you look behind, like, there's not a lot going on behind the curtain, right? And so yeah, Starfield, like, I don't know, I was skeptical about it, and I feel like there's a lot of people, there's a lot of coping, right? Like, people have paid a lot of money and they're very invested into being successful, and they've gambled their, their, I don't know, they've decided to die on this hill. But I think people are realizing that it's just not gonna live up, or it's gonna take a million patches, right? So but yeah, that's a lot of what you see in the industry. And the fact that people are refunding is amazing to me, because it's early access and Steam allows them to. That's amazing to me. In case you haven't noticed, or if you haven't heard, because it's early access, you can get a refund for Starfield from Steam anytime. So you can play it right now, do everything there is to do until you're satisfied, and then refund it. But that's going to end soon, I think, because it comes out, tomorrow, or I don't know. You see Quinn's refund clip? I did, yeah. Amazing. And I also love it when streamers get big enough that they don't need the approval anymore. Mid-20s male, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate you. 3 months. Thank you. How you doing, Josh? Nice to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's been a long time. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so where was I? It was always going to be a Bethesda game. We were delusional, yeah. There's also just some of that, like, again, the strengths of Skyrim and other Bethesda titles that have been loved by quite a few people over the years, myself included. I enjoyed Skyrim a lot. It wasn't it wasn't a AAA product or an amazing product all the way through. You know what I mean? Like, it had some issues, but you forgave them because there were other things going on that were very, very good. So you're having fun. What it is, I'm glad. Yeah. Again, I really don't want to distract from your enjoyment. I'm not here to tell you guys don't like Starfield. I've seen this before, this idea that we're going to make an infinitely explorable space game that's programmatically generated. Star Wars Galaxies, right? Tried it way back. No Man's Sky, obviously, all the memes about that, one of my favorites. And yeah, it's just so funny that for some people that is the ultimate experience, right? And it's not a small group either. It's like every explorer out there, of course, but also that for every person that like, and a lot of you will connect with this, they want one game to do it all forever. Like many of you wanted to just play WoW and enjoy WoW and love WoW for the rest of your lives, and that's it. One game, just be completely committed, like a marriage, and that was it. And so I think there's a lot of people in that category that also love this idea that it's just space, it's just a universe, and that's all you could ever want. What was the tweet about Baldur's Gate? Oh, just yeah, they were complaining about Baldur's Gate 3 being the new standard, being too high a standard. They were raising the bar too much, and they did. They raised the bar, and that's great. That's actually great. But yeah, there's still a lot of flaws in the game, but the thing that they did, which probably scares people the most, is they committed to the game experience. They committed to the game and the art, and they went all in. Like they didn't get distracted by opportunities to make a ton of money, and that's why they've made now a ton of money. So it's proven the opposite formula, right? Because for every business person that's sitting in these boardrooms and saying, yeah, you can do your artistic thing, but that's not going to make any money. Because look at the markets and look at the demographics and look at the MAUs and look at the, brain chemistry and, all the science, right? That's actually proving correct in the other model, which is all about capturing their attention, lying to them, getting them to spend money, and then who cares what happens to them, right? That model works, right? But there's still room for another model, which is just make a kick-ass game and really commit to it, and don't dick over your customers, and like treat them with respect, and build a thing that is dedicated to the gaming experience, right? And you can also make money that way. And there's a fair number of examples of this in the past few years. Valheim, Vampire Survivors, right? What the hell are we watching? Is this AI? Oh, it's PUBG, Blackpink X PUBG Mobile. Wow. Anyway. Have I played Armored Core? No, I'm not a big mech fan. Like, I liked Battletech 2 Crescent Hawk's Revenge, right? That was a great Battletech game, but it's more like tactical. I like the Battletech game, which one of the last ones that came out. By the way, the Crescent Hawk's Revenge, one of the first games to utilize the new Sound Blaster technology. Oh, the gunfire from the mechs was so loud and so good. Anyway, yeah. So, but I don't particularly like all the games that are you run around as the mech and first person shoot people or third person shoot people. So, but yeah, I've heard great things about it. So, am I going to make Blackpink to make a music video with your next game, if at all possible? Have I beaten Elden Ring? I haven't. I put it down because of the open world stuff. Yeah, I had a discussion recently on my Discord about why Dark Souls 4 is better than Elden Ring, or Dark Souls is better than Elden Ring, and why I want a Dark Souls 4 before an Elden Ring 2. Which is pretty interesting, but your heart's stuck on that last boss. Oh yeah, put it down. Put the controller down. Put it down. Get some sleep. Go back to normal life. Come back. You'll be it the first time. That's the trick. Confirmed by Dr. K. I don't know if you guys watch Dr. K, but he talked about that, the brain, what's going on in the brain, that actually there's science underneath that concept of if you are, beating your head against a boss, that you're getting diminishing returns out of your gaming performance, and you need to step away in order to refresh. That's why many of you have had that experience. I definitely have, where you suck at the boss the further you go, you get worse and worse, and then you put it down, come back, beat it first time. So you mentioned Discord, 4 of us doing it at the same time. Welcome. Did I play Jedi Survivor? I did not. Tunic. I haven't heard of that. Sounds interesting. I'll have to look at that. I've been obsessed with Conquest of Elysium 5. I was going to have it on in the background, but I couldn't get it to game capture in full screen. So, and I don't know what's going on. I can get other games too, but, and obviously Blackpink, but should we talk about Snap? You guys, are you sick of the Blackpink? Let's talk about Snap. Marvel Snap. It's probably going to be too loud. Oh no, I turned the new season dropped. You want to go for some Girls' Generation? Alright. Never sick of Blackpink. That's the attitude. Okay, so I want to talk about this game because I saw another streamer playing it, Lukey, and so I fired it up again. I had bounced off this pretty quickly before. And I went back and I played it again to see what, if anything, had changed, new cards, new dynamics, because I had some criticisms of the design. What's the word? The design space utilized. You talk about design space and design a lot, which is like when you design a thing, we have this system. We want character classes to work like this, and then you start introducing these different elements. And those elements, when combined, we're going to do these things, we're not going to do these other things. It creates what we call a design space, which is then what you can fill with all the cool ideas you're going to want to do. And you can generally estimate how big the design space is based on, you know, the rule set for the system or the experience that you're designing. And if it's too small, then it can still be fun, but you realize that it doesn't have a lot of legs in terms of expansions or growth or, you know, that kind of thing. And so you want it to be healthy, and there's probably problems that I'm not remembering right now, but if it gets too big, it can be, I don't know, I can't think of what, but you basically, generally speaking, you want your design space to be healthy enough. So I feel like this game has a small-ish design space. It's actually not that small, but the design space that they utilized within the game in the first iteration wasn't very healthy. Like they didn't do a lot of crazy things. They did a lot of like very standard things and very expected things. And so I wasn't excited about the possibilities when you create your decks and the interaction between cards and stuff. So I wanted to see if they have expanded it more and sort of, you know, revisited it. But here's what I learned instead. I wasn't blown away. There were some cool things that I saw that, you know, types of decks and interaction types. So it was better, but the other thing that it did, which is really what I want to talk about. And you guys, oh, you guys love this. Tell me you don't love this. All right, so so this is time, and this is brain. Brain over time. And so what I kind of mean by this is sort of the enjoyment that your brain is having over time, right? And so what games like this do is they start you like right here, right? You fire it up. They are rewarding you constantly. Free shit, oh my god. You know, click on this, I just got that. Click on that, oh my god. I did a couple tutorial things and they're throwing currency at me and XP and I'm going up levels and I'm getting new cards and right? Like, oh my god. Right? Your brain is just on fire, right? And then it slows, right? And it slows and it slows and it slows and it slows, right? And so this is what you're competing with. This right here is what you're competing with when it comes to your actual game. And your actual game is like, it starts you here. Like, this is the complexity of the mechanics. This is like how many different things you have to think about, how many different systems, right? And it does this, right? And then it jumps a little, and then it jumps a little more. It jumps a little, and then maybe it goes like that, and right? Right? And then it levels off. This is like max level, you know. I've got all the cards. Now I'm just fighting for rating or whatever. I've done all the currency things, you know what I mean, right? And so, where does everyone quit? Everyone quits right here, you know? Somewhere in like right here. And it's just so predictable, you know? And this is what every one of these games does. And it blows my mind because like this is pretty generous actually. Because like relative to the decline in like brain endorphins and dopamine hits and all that shit, like this curve should actually be way more level. Because like when you think about Diablo 4, right? Diablo 4 is like really, really boring experience. Oh, I went up a few levels. I got some new abilities. Cool. Oh, they added gems. Like the gem increase is like, you know, like the smallest little thing that has to carry you for 5 levels. And then you get like a mount. You know? That's like, woo! Right? Oh, but it's a fancy looking mount, right? And then they do this thing at level 50 where it's like, oh, fucking sick. Like, now I have the Paragon stuff. Like, that whole board and moving stuff around, that was actually really cool. Like, why didn't I get that way earlier? And then also you can go to World Tier 3, which has, like, way better gear with, like, build, you know, connecting, like, attributes on it, right? And then you're back to right, like, so like, and like, the thing about the brains in most games, you take out all the gotcha stuff, right? Like, you get rid of this whole line, and this is still happening in a lot of games, RPGs especially, where you're going up levels, because your levels, your speed of leveling is diminishing, your speed of getting new gear, right? Your time to upgrade, as they call it in Diablo, is decreasing, right? So, like, you have to play longer before you get another worthwhile point or upgrade, another new piece of gear, another, like, noticeable power increase, right? And so that's decreasing over time. And so you're already sort of fighting this, but, you know, it stops entirely, right? Like, and then you're just like PvPing, and PvP can be like kind of endless. And so, like, even though it stopped, like League of Legends, right? Even though in each individual game is an arc, and eventually you stop, and then the game experience ends, you can replay it because you're doing that build again, and then build again, and a build again. It's all encapsulated in that one experience. And the game mechanics are fun, you know, there's enough going on in each individual game that you're captured, and you can be captured for a really long time. And this is true about a lot of PvP experiences. As some games have like a very shallow meta experience outside the game experience, where you maximize, and that you finish that very quickly, and now you're just experiencing the PvP core, gameplay experience. And it can withstand like the negative brain activity because the core experience is so good. But layer like a gotcha mechanic, a series of gotcha mechanics over like a hardcore one over the League of Legends experience, and League of Legends would have a really tough time. Like if they put out a new game that was, in a weird testing universe, they put out League of Legends again, just like it, except with hardcore gotcha mechanics. I think it would struggle to survive, and people wouldn't know why. They'd just be like, I don't know why, I don't know, I just lost interest, and this is exactly why. Because your brain used to be on fire, and every day after, it just isn't as on fire as it was yesterday, right? And eventually, you're logging in just for those bonuses, just to do your dailies, right? Just to do the things with accelerated rewards, right? And then once the accelerated reward faucet turns off for the day, you're just like, why the fuck am I playing? And you're totally distracted by that routine that you can't properly evaluate the core gameplay experience, which has never been true to itself because it's just been so artificially distracted, by all the crazy reward structure nonsense, And every game still does this, and they're like, I would love to be able to the totals. You don't see when they started and when they ended, but you'd have to be able to extrapolate the data with guesswork based on the general curve of when it launched and when people stopped playing it, right? But I bet internally they have all this data, and they could tell you exactly how long most people quit, and it's like the same time. Yeah, they play for about 20 days, and then that's it. Then it just falls off a cliff. Like, most people don't last past 20 days. And they love the game to death in the first week, and then after the 20th day, they're done. Like, they've played it, they had fun with it, and they'll really never go back. So, me with PoE leagues, that might be a different issue, Handy, because I don't remember them doing a ton of like that. I mean, they definitely have the leveling, and you do get to a point where, like, your power stops growing, like once you get to 75 or something, and you start losing XP for deaths, and it gets more difficult, and so you're fighting for each little bit, you're scraping by, and the progression is much slower. You're not seeing those tangible improvements, like increases to your build. Because for me, those games are about builds, right? Like, I just want to build a character that I got some bug up my butt, and I'm just like, oh, I want to see how this works. And then once you start feeling like your build isn't progressing, that's when I start to, drift on a character. So yeah, the fact that people do this is so self-sabotaging for most of these games. Like, I think Snap would be a pretty decent experience. Like, I think it would survive a lot longer for a lot of people if they didn't have such an aggressive, like, early curve like this. So, that was basically my comments on that. So, yeah. Why can't my Impale Blade Trap or Shrapnel Totem work, right? New heroes that are OP, hot sit a lot. Okay. Right. Yeah, that's a thing. But not as severe. Like, the thing I'm talking about is generally really, really severe. because it's like, and it's layered on top of like the gameplay experience. It's sort of like it doesn't even care about the gameplay experience. It's like the sort of system you can just overlay onto any game. At the start, we're going to give you massive free shit, and then we're going to slow it down. We're going to trickle it out little by little, and then we're going to leave you just unable to afford the big thing, and then the shop is always there, you know, to help nudge you over the edge, right? That's usually the trick, but just so I can check what level I was when I flushed it. Maybe like I did enough to hit level 849. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I just got flushed. I was 46, and then they bounce you back. Is it 30? Is it 3 full ranks? And then my collection level is still really low. But, yeah, and then this whole thing. Here's what happened in the last... These are the new chapters, which I think dropped today. The last chapters I completed, all 4, fully unlocked. And I was at like 40... I was at 48, I want to say. And if you don't have premium, the card Dokken unlocks at 50, just like Loki. And so I was at 48, playing for free, had done all the chapters, right? And yet, just shy, right? Just a little bit shy. And so it would have taken a little more grinding every day beyond like the chapter stuff. And I didn't start the thing at the beginning when it launched. But I'd be willing to bet that the same kind of thing happens here. Because this is like metered out. Unlocks in 2 weeks, you know. So I don't know when their thing ends. But I felt like the last chapter opened... The final thing in the last chapter opened a couple of days before the end, and they added new ones. And so you have to... Yeah. You gotta spend a little. You might have my soul, but I've only ever bought Quality of Life stash tabs, no MTX. Yeah. I think I did the same, Handy. Yeah. So that's my discussion on Snap. A lot less to do with Snap in general, but just something where I noticed this. And it occurred to me that it occurred to me that that same sort of thing is going on in a lot of games, and it feels really self-sabotaging because I don't think most game designers are thinking, oh yeah, we gotta layer that on top. Like, I think that's more on the business side, and like, how are we gonna make money, and right, like, and so, and it gets a lot worse than Snap, by the way. Snap is not a particularly aggressive monetization model. They were pretty tame. And a lot of the stuff that you buy is cosmetic rather than powers, but yeah, but I feel like the brain chemistry part of it has got the same sort of behavior, and the business people are trying to convince the designers that this is really good for the game, when I think it's like it's actually really bad for the game after a pretty short time. Like, if you want people to play your game for more than a month, it seems like you could probably actually do a study that it's actually harmful for the game for any longer than that. Now, if there's some world where you actually want to get their money and then not make sure they're off the server after a month, you know, like, then okay, you know, right? But I'm willing to bet that people still playing your game after a month is almost always worthwhile. So it seems like really, yeah, really a bad plan. But I have no data to back it up. Griswold said they lose most players super fast, but if they make it to maps, then there's a solid chance that you're hooked. They make it to maps. Maps are the like custom build temple things. Is that? But can you talk about talents and WoW? How you start getting into level 10 instead of level 1? Yeah, level 10 is simply because we didn't want to overwhelm the player with choice, especially when you don't know anything about the game yet. Same with why we abandoned like character creation, assigning attribute points, which is a very common RPG thing. Where do you want to put your starting attribute points? Well, I have no information. I know nothing about the systems in this game. You're asking me to make a decision that's permanent, potentially, and I don't know how any of this works. So it's just like random. This could be good, this could be bad. Let's not have players make that from the get-go. So let them just enjoy the mechanics, give them a bunch of stuff to experiment and toy with, play with a few spells. By then, they'll probably have fallen in love with one type of spell, or they'll be having problems in certain one type of area. And then we offer talents to make the things you love better, or maybe alleviate some of the things you're struggling with, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was basically the idea. You need some validation, Bus? All right. You have a burning problem? Have you been to Goldshire Inn recently? Oof. Does it hurt when you pee? Yeah, thank you, Happy Face Man. Hey, what's up, Experiment? Nice to see you. Apart from Vanilla Reese, HC servers have been peak. Wow, man, it's so crazy that yet another variant of the classic experience is blown up. So happy to see it. People having fun again. It's so good. Just keeps on giving. And sell off the game while having the higher numbers. Yeah, maybe, Andy. Yeah. Although why you want to... Yeah, like that seems like a business sucker to me. Like, purchase a game that someone else has made and has gotten the thing, and then you just take over the maintenance of it. And if you could look at how degenerate the game design is, or the marketing model, to know, wow, this isn't going to last. I'm used to like companies buying games so that they can shut them down. That's what I'm more used to. Was it a right choice for Blizz to limit the amount of dungeons you can do daily? As I see it, why stop players from playing the game they want? If I personally want a dungeon spam with friends, let me. Enriching the open world when we have 10 layers. Yeah, that's not a decision I would make lightly, the one to limit players doing dungeons. Because generally I agree, Bus. However, I don't have all the information I think they have to make a really good decision, I don't think. I feel like there's quite a few things that I don't actually understand, like what it's doing. Because like people coming back to WoW and racing, especially like in a very competitive environment like hardcore or the classic environment, people were really worried about firsts and things like that, especially on some servers that were like streamer popular or PvP or whatever it is. Like the amount of organized effort going into the experience is so crazy on a game that's 15 years old that you're dealing with a whole different type of experience. And if you get to a point where you feel like the community is doing things that's hurting either themselves accidentally and their experience or others, then it might be something to look at, right? But it has to be pretty bad. But I don't think universally you can just say, let people play the way they want to play, you know, and have that always be the right decision. Because the way I want to play is I want to make a bot that just plays for me, right? And I just want to go to work and come back and have millions of gold, right? So, you know, there are limits to that argument, you know. And it can get really, really complicated. And I definitely don't feel I have enough information as to what's going on. Any interest in playing hardcore WoW? No. I did play it a lot back when it was unofficial. What level did I get to, guys? Was it 29 priest or 39 priest? I don't think it was 39. I think I died in Hillsbrad mine? One of the Hillsbrad mines? I'm watching Mad Season play a bunch of hardcore classic. He jokes about you a lot. Yeah, Mad Season's definitely good people. Watch him for sure. He's made his glorious comeback. I fully support it. Is he still alive on his first character? I think he made a hunter. He's going to 9x it, right? Isn't he going to do one of each class all the way? Madman. Madman. He said a couple times, good. That means he's playing well. He soloed Stitches, nice. Yeah, the level 29 Hillsprout. I got the guy that summoned the other guys. It's the death of me. Cocky. I want a bot to play for me. Right, so you have Star Wars Galaxies, yeah. So there are limits. Given Classics popularity, do you think they would ever do a Classic Plus? They might. Like, again, I mean, they have to come up with something to get people to come back and do it again. And, you know, the latest was hardcore, and it worked. And there's probably a ton of people playing and paying. So, you know, what's going to be after that? They got to come up with another thing, and it might just be Classic Plus. What would I like to see added? Probably just content, different dungeons, you know. Like, I don't, it's such a can of worms to like start in on class balance and let's redo the talents, you know, right? Like, best of intentions, you know, but that can lead us to retail pretty quickly. The Undercity elevator clips. Oh god, so good. Another round. What about Defias Pillagers? How are they doing? Are they racking up the kills? I hope so. Have I talked about Baldur's Gate 3 at all? I have, Oracle. Yeah, at the start. That's what I kind of started on. It took a while to get there because I watched a whole video about it. But yeah. Yeah, we talked about it a bit. It's very good. Very good game. Worthy. And here's the other thing, guys. You know, I talk a lot about the industry and games, blah, 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 and like, it can be pretty depressing sometimes because there's a lot of companies out just to get your money and don't care about making good games. And so you might ask, well, what can we do, right? Like, what do we do about this situation? And the reality is, like, don't just do what you're doing. Like, I think in general, you can see fatigue from like all the money schemes. I think people are getting more savvy. I think people are calling bullshit more on bullshit. And I think you're also seeing the most important thing, which is rewarding the games that do it right. And Baldur's Gate 3 is a perfect example. Tons of people played it, loved it, spoke highly of it, called bullshit on everyone who was trying to and say it's not all that, or it's the new standard is inaccessible, or blah, blah, blah nonsense from the other developers and everything else. So celebrate it, buy it, teach teach developers that they can do it that way and be massively successful. But they got to do it that way, right? Because one of the things Asmongold said over and over, there's a lot of trash developers, and he's right. Like, I'm not going to call it anyone specific, but you guys have to understand that talent is rare, right? And most of you already do. If you're interested in anything, whether it's professional sports or music or movies or anything, any art form, anything that requires talent, experience, like education, like the cream rises to the top, generally speaking, and it's a level above everyone else who's trying it, right? So it's very difficult, and bum fighting. That's right. Talent it's hard to find, and it rises to the top. So yeah, when you see talent, when you see them do it right, when you see it do them well and honestly and with, you know, heart and soul, then reward it. Reward it by buying it, playing it, celebrating it. You know what I mean? Device Trapper is #1. Really? And Kobold Miner? Oh, yeah. That Armor Pierce. Oof. They still have that, or is that a different miner? All the miners always had those huge armor crushing debuffs, which is so good in groups. Murlocs, yeah, Murlocs are up there. God, Westfall's just full of them. By the way, the average time in character creation was 1 hour. Well, there's that huge pause, you know. There's that huge pause about 3/4 of the way through where you get to that thing where there's that checkbox, and if you check it, it hides their underwear, and then they're naked, and then, you know, usually people step away from the computer for a short time because it's the first time, you know, they've seen that much detail in an RPG. They get excited, and it takes them a minute, and then they, you know, they come back to their senses and finish their character creation. So, yeah. Overwatch really fell from grace. Yeah. That was rough. Rough beats. Ash the Creation seems to have some good talent. I haven't been staying up on Ash's thoughts on No Man's Skyrim. Yeah, we talked about that too. You want to rewind the VoD. A heat map for depths. Oh, that's awesome. They announced the official death count. Yeah, that would be a miss if they didn't. They definitely should. I'm just so addicted to Pathfinder 2 now. Just feel really off to me. Yeah, Just Junkie. I actually went back after a bit and fired up Wrath of the Righteous again. Yeah. Is that what you're talking about, Pathfinder 2? God, those games are good. But I picked up an old save, and I just had no idea what was going on. Like, you know, like, because Sven, the guy from, what's it called? From Baldur's Gate 3, talked about how D&D falls apart at level 12. 12 is even pushing it, you know? Like, I feel like it's around level 7, to be honest. But that's old school. That's when you got your second attack as a fighter back in the day. Now it's level 5, and you can already see the huge power increase at level 5. But You got to see what each race looks like naked. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, Curse of Recklessness. Yeah, Prof. Yeah. Yeah, the hidden benefits. Hidden benefits. And that's the difference between life and death, you know? Some of those Murloc camps. Overwatch 3 would save for sure, yeah. Finally, I know, so desperate. Finally. It's only been 9 months. God, you guys are... I don't even know what the word is. People. You might need to stream more than once every year. It's crazy. I created my first WoW character, Hellcleave, half-orc barb. Oh, wow. He's tearing it up. I just know. Wrath's just a power trip. Pathfinder 2nd edition, yeah. Like, D&D has, like, so many problems. Like, the armor class system is really bad. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, if you think about... Like, you might have experienced this in Baldur's Gate 3. It's certainly true in Solasta. And certainly true in Wrath of the Righteous, or the Pathfinder games. And one of the things Baldur's Gate 3 has done is they've measured out the gear acquisition a lot. Like, you don't race to get magic items that are more and more powerful very fast. Like, they're really stingy with the magic items, which is yeah, it's I think it's had a good effect, because so one of the things they do in Baldur's Gate 3 or in D&D, right, the AC system, like the difference between a well-made character and a poorly made character in terms of like your tank, like your character's up in the middle being attacked by everything, is massive. Because a lot of the times in those games you can get to, you know, a point where they need a 20 to hit you, right? Because you got plate armor and a shield and a couple of feats or whatever, you know, and your dex. And now a lot of creatures need a 20 to hit you. If you don't take a couple of feats and you're trying to use a two-handed sword instead of a shield, now they need a 16 or better to hit you. You're literally taking 5 times more damage than the other guy, right? And that's just a couple of mistakes, you know? Like, that's a couple things done differently. And you're taking 5 times the damage, right? Like, plus all of the, like, on-hit effects, right? All the things that happen. And there's always at least one thing that happens when you get hit. So, kind of absurd, like, the difference, you know, playing well and playing just okay. Getting flavorful with it, right? Not min-maxing is. And, you know, the encounters for these games tend to be, like, yeah, they're geared more for the min-maxers, right? So, I want the game to be kind of difficult, so, yeah, you fall off the pace a little bit, and oof. Oof. Moon Boots, what up? How are you? Glad to see you. Hope we're doing wonderful. Everyone say hi to Moon Boots. I'm sure you all know her from... I don't even remember the name. What was the name of that streaming service? What was Microsoft's streaming service? That's where she started, then she came over to Twitch. Ugh. Anyway, Mixer, yeah, hilarious. Yeah, she started a Mixer. Anyway, Moon was somebody I used to work with on WoW. Amazing designer, and yeah, she got a real job, and so had to stop streaming. But we all wait for her glorious return at some point. Just cast Mythic Mage Armor, yeah. One mistaken Wrath's how useless heavy armor is. Alright, alright. When you're built to high enough levels, monsters have such high attack bonuses, wearing no armors, basically function the same as being a full plate. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, and then none of it scales, right? It all scales really poorly. And like forget about like that's just the one character whose job it is to hopefully take a few hits, and not all of them are hits. There's some misses in there too, because every other character is being absolutely annihilated, right? They are getting hit by every single attack. So anytime anything attacks anyone else, it's, you know, that person's just down, right? So there's no scaling into high levels. There's certainly no like comparative values between anything but the guy who's min-maxed to be that versus everyone else. Like there's just so many problems. That's just the AC system, right? Then there's, you know, the save stuff, and like there's a lot of systems that aren't just, they're legacy. We don't want to touch them too much. They're iconic, you know, get it, right? It's still fun. But yeah, I think Baldur's Gate 3 did a good job of limiting the gear, as well as the feats aren't as crazy either. A lot of them aren't just like straight power, one-dimensional power that relates to combat. I actually like the feat list quite a bit. I'd never seen the fit. I think those were just 5th edition feats, but I liked them a lot. There were a lot of really competitive choices in there. That was cool. And they were cool to look through. I feel like there's a ton of feats that in the Pathfinder games that are just like, are you kidding me with this? Like just, and the thing is, they're included for completion, and they totally work in games where you have a human DM who can roll with the punches of your players doing weird things, right, or wanting specific experiences. So they're all there for a good reason. But yeah, it's like when you're trying to min-max, like there's just no comparison. You need to cancel your WoW sub. You still got your WoW sub. Nice. Players in my table all got a free level 1 feat, which couldn't increase ability score. They picked up some neat feats using them well. Nice. I love it. Aggression and killing, the thing before did the ouch factor too. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, when, you know, damage is mitigation as well, right? So the faster things die, the less damage you take. So, yeah, there's a lot of situations where, like, being a barbarian who can't wear any armor is still better because he just kills everything really fast. And so, yeah. Was recently at a senior game center. Yeah, I saw it. Well, you know my rate. You know I'm there in a heartbeat for a 10 mil signing bonus. So I guarantee at least that much in additional subs money. So much more likely a great deal more than that. So yeah, they should seriously consider it. And you know, the way I work, like I show up, I tell you all the things you need to know. If you listen, you do your thing. And then once you're doing the thing that I told you to do, a lot of people will feel like, oh, do we really need Kevin around anymore? It's not like he's really good at data entry or fixing bugs or coding or, you know. So let's just get rid of him. And the 10 mil, you know, secures me because you can get rid of me whenever you want, you know. Anytime you're ready, you just get rid of me. And then 2 years from now, when you're lost again, we can renegotiate that a fresh 10 mil signing bonus. I'm totally cool with that. So, yeah. No, I haven't revealed it yet. Have not revealed it. Always need Kevin around. you. Yeah, Moon Boots, you know what I'm talking about. When do we get our signing bonuses? When does that become common in the industry? No respect for designers, I tell you. No respect. What's happening to the Dreamhaven? I have no idea. Aren't they publishing for like 4 or 5 different studios? Another 10 minutes you can come back and remind everyone what you already told them they should be doing. That's right. That's right. They probably feel like they can just watch my YouTube channel and, like, you know, not pay the 10 and I'll give this shit away for free. Stop doing dumb shit. Hey, sometimes you gotta be told. You sang with Ghost Crawler, didn't you? Just kidding, maybe. Nice try, Real Toxic. Nice try. I would, there is a universe where that's funny, though, because he was the one who had to axe me at Blizzard. He had the dubious honor of firing me. And so it would be funny to work for him again and him have to fire me a second time. In the multiverse, it's happening somewhere. What up, bananas? Good to see you too, Moist Dude. Thank you very much for the kind words. I was just asking how it was going. Oh, it's going good. Like, we've got our struggles. What's my biggest struggle? So I like, you know, I've talked a lot about ambition in game design. I like people that like go for it. They don't always just want to do the thing next to them, you know, like, because like when you think about WoW, well, obviously WoW is just like EverQuest at its heart and soul, you know, but still the ambition was there to be like, I see what EverQuest could be. And they, by the way, they are killing it, right? They are making tons of money. It's super popular. 500,000 almost, you know, subscriptions. They're doing awesome. Let's do everything better, you know? And that's ambition, right? The downside of ambition is knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at, you know? Because a lot of people want to change things just so it's theirs. You know what I mean? Yeah, doing too much is one, for sure. And so knowing your limitations in terms of scope, team size, time, money, you know, whatever it is. But also, like, just knowing what you're good at. Like, we want a way better story. We want every moment of the game to be filled with amazing story, you know, for 100 hours. And then, you know, not having any narrative designers, or the one guy who's good at narrative design is actually responsible for all the systems too, you know, whatever that is, right? So the downside of ambitious design is, like, again, knowing what you just don't have the capabilities to crush in a new way. And that's when you need to just go, okay, in this particular element, we're going to do it just like they did it, right? That's where you need to say, here's where we're going to play it safe, and we're going to knock it out of the park in these areas, right? You know, in sort of our core, where our core talent is, you know? And so that's the downside. And so we've got a little bit of that at the studio I'm at. Do you think those old games can pull new fans, or is it only the old generations? Yes, they can. Oh, yes, they can. Yeah, I continue to hold the fact that human beings haven't changed that much. We have basically the same needs now. There's definitely an internet generation, right, that's just grown up on the internet and on social media and everything else that has for sure had an impact on the way we connect with people, the way we interact, the way we behave, the way our brains work, the way our eyes work, the way we process things. Like, there's no doubt. We're not really going to know the full extent for a long time. But I don't think that that's fundamentally changed things so much that good games can't still be good games for that same new generation. So, yeah. And I think we have a fair enough example, plenty of examples of that. I've seen a fair number of brand new players in Classic, yeah. Classic, I think, has proved it, that old game design still works on, you know, because I don't think everybody is, like you're saying, like brand, you know, an old time player who's done it 50 times before and has lived on private servers, you know, like, yeah, there's a lot of that crowd, but there's a lot of people just checking it out. And other game types, like every time you think a genre is dead, you know, and then somebody makes a good game, whether it's XCOM or Baldur's Gate 3, you could say, you know, like, did everyone really expect to be playing a turn-based, party-based, hardcore RPG at this time? You know, like, it's got way more players than that crowd would suggest, you know? Because that, yeah, like, it's just it was never that popular, like, compared to the other genres. But here we are. They did a great job with it. And now a bunch of people are going to be trying to do what they did and trying to figure out how they can get in on that. And then trying to figure out how to not take whatever 6 years or whatever it took them to do it. But yeah, because like, how many of you played Tyranny? Tyranny is I think, a very good CRPG. And commercially, a failure, right? An absolute failure. Right? So, yeah, I mean, you could take from that, yeah, people just don't like those kind of games. And I couldn't say, oh, okay, yeah, you're onto something. And yet, Baldur's Gate 3 did something that, like, people just really connected with. I like to put it down after 15 hours. Yeah, because you finished it. I mean, Tyranny's not the longest game. I'm really curious. Like, you must have been close. Because, like, it is the short. That was the model, was have it be short, and then people can replay it 3 times. As opposed to, you know, the Pillars of Eternity or Baldur's Gate. Like, how many people have finished Baldur's Gate? How many people are going to replay it a second time? It's a long-ass game, especially if you do any sightseeing, right? Like, there's a fair amount of sightseeing. Would be nice to take 6 years. Got so many games coming out. Yeah. Keep telling people about Tyranny and Planescape Torment, but rarely anyone even knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Goddamn kids. Planescape Torment, wow. Alright, Dirty Little Secret, never finished it. And I played all of those games. Oh, I'm gonna guess because it came out during Ultima Online. That's what I'm gonna guess. Planescape Torment. Release date. 1999. There it is. Yep. Please leave a message. I am currently playing Ultima Online like it's a religion. Yeah. Anything between 97, late 97, and like 2000. I did not play. Didn't play it. It's like this weird blackout, gaming blackout I had. Because Ultima Online just took over. I was taking like 2 night classes in college. I was working like 20 hours a week as a bartender. And that was enough to survive. And that's like 25 hours, 28 hours, we'll say, total. 30 hours a week. Be generous with driving and eating. And the rest was just Ultima Online. A little bit of sleep. Ultima Online. Madness. Absolute madness. No BG1. No Half-Life. Nope, no Half-Life. StarCraft, that wasn't... StarCraft was before that, wasn't it? Diablo 1 was before that. Kevin Jordan's a bartender, is blowing my mind. It usually does, yeah. That's the weird thing I did. I was in a huge shell. I still am. I'm pretty introverted, but massive shell when I was a kid. And so what did I do? I was like, I took the job that was going to force me to just, and it worked 100%. 100%. Socialized me in all the right ways. Have you managed to eat any Tin Roof Sundae in the last 9 months? I made my own Tin Roof Sundae this very night, but it was kind of knockoff. Like, I got the chocolate covered peanuts, vanilla ice cream, the hot fudge. So I kind of made my own version of it, but technically, I'll call it, yeah. This very night, first night I've had it in decades. It counts, okay. Because my daughter was looking up the ingredients, and she looked up some version that had marshmallow in it, like marshmallow ribbons. And I was like, what? And I hate marshmallow in ice cream. I hate Rocky Road's garbage ice cream. And so she's like, you're not even eating Tin Roof Sundae. And I'm like, oh, maybe not. But I'm not putting marshmallow in this. So another friend of mine said, technically it's not this kind of sauce, it's this. Everyone's trying to crap on my dream. But I'm calling it a win. Screw y'all. And the hot fudge wasn't hot enough. But it's cold when you actually eat it, because it's like marbled fudge, ribbon throughout when you have like the actual ice cream. But damn, some of the best games ever made feeling that time. Yeah, like System Shock I missed. Yeah, there's movies in there that I've never seen. There's all kinds of stuff that I just missed because I was, you know what I'm talking. A lot of you guys know. Yours was WoW, but mine was Ultima Online. Oof. That was a rabbit hole. Now you're sad you're on a diet, Andy. Well, you can't get it anywhere, for fuck's sake. That's why it's been 3 decades. Because they don't have it anywhere. And then, like, forever, I didn't get it because, when they did have it, because my kids had nut allergies and, solidarity and all that. So I didn't do nuts and peanuts, and so that was off the list. But now I've taken them back to the thing, and they're not deathly allergic to the nuts. Now it's just kind of mild irritation level. So we're back in business. Your dad hated video games, refused to let me get a console. Oh. I thought you were just gonna say your dad was PC Master Race and wouldn't let you have a console. I'm like, I'm kind of with them. No, not true. Had a chance to play the latest Jagged Alliance. I haven't, but I really want to. I'll wait for a sale, but I've heard good things. I've heard enough good things to try it, because I am so I have been so ridiculously skeptical that was going to be any good. But then I was watching Sequisha play it. He was having a great time and telling me how great it is. And I don't always see eye to eye with Sequisha about his recommendations. Like, I think he said New World was really good. He loved New World, and I was like, oh my god, the game is dog shit. My opinion. But, whew. Yeah, so, but, he said it, he added some description to why it's good. He was saying a lot of the right things, so. Metal Gear Solid is masterclass game design. So Metal Gear Solid 5 was the first Metal Gear Solid game that I have played and liked. I played the first or second one on the console, and I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. But 5 was so good. I recently went back to it and restarted, so I'm getting to about the half done spot again, playing off and on. But yeah, what the improvements they made in 5 over the basic design of Metal Gear Solid, and the reasons I didn't like it, I thought were masterfully done. Yeah. No, yeah, no commentary on the story, and I know the story and the world and the characters and the voice acting and all that stuff, great. My problem with Metal Gear Solid, the early ones, is if you play really well, it's not a fun game. Like, nothing really happens. And that's kind of part of the design of stealth games. Like, when you're so good at it, it's like you're not even there, right? But I think the game shines when things don't go perfectly. And it's really hard to find the sweet spot for that. You know what I mean? It's really hard to find how to create that sort of, push and pull where things are going badly just often enough without it feeling really artificial. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't want to be doing everything perfectly and then the game just deciding, oh, it's time for you to have a fuck up. It's time for you to, step on a squeaky toy and everybody comes running. Like, without it feeling really forced, because you're just like, dude, I've been playing perfect, fuck off, and so it's really hard. That's the challenge of those kinds of games, and that was why I didn't have a great time. What I love about 5 is, and then if you try to lean into the, like, combat, just be like, yeah, I'm gonna try my best at stealth, and then when I get caught, I'll just fight my way through the rest. That led to failure in the early games that I remember. Like, you just can't be caught, You can be almost caught a couple of times, but you still have to stealth it at the end. Metal Gear Solid 5 was just like, yeah, sneak around, and then when you get caught, pull out the grenade launcher, right? And I love that. To me, that was perfect. It was just like, I can go straight in with the grenade launcher if I want, call in all these airstrikes, like, and I can like, and I can do what I do, which is like aggressively stealth, and then as soon as I'm caught, I just go nuts, right? Um, and so that's where I think Metal Gear Solid really refined the design. Splinter Cell was going well for a bit, yeah. I feel bad, I always feel bad because there are games that are really good, and you get a couple of them, 2, 3 games maybe, and then the team is just exhausted, and the guys who know exactly how to make great versions of that game don't want to do it anymore. And so they go off and do something else because they need a fresh new challenge. Totally reasonable. And the people that take over have no idea what makes the magic. Like, you see this with the classic changes, like like there's some confusion still about why the design of Vanilla WoW is so good, right? Like, I can talk about it, and you guys are like, yeah, that makes sense, but like, go talk to the devs. And at least from the decisions that they're making regarding Classic and the changes that they make or the direction they want to go with the game or adding the WoW, like, there's some business stuff too that's complicating things, right? The WoW token. But they just don't seem to fully grasp why this is good. And so, and that's why no changes was such a, like, there was such a rallying cry for no changes. And probably appropriately, because if they just get in there and start making changes without really understanding why the game is so good, then they're going to mess it up. They're going to be like, well, what this game really needs is cross-server Dungeon Fighter, and it's just like, what the hell are you doing? And so, because they don't really understand, And so I imagine that happens a lot. Like, you get a team that's firing on all pistons and they're doing the awesome thing over and over, and then they get fatigued and they want to go do something new, and it's like, okay, but the new crew hasn't been properly trained. They don't fully understand. It's like, they think they know, they're huge fans of the series, they're players, but they're not designers. And this industry does a really terrible job of passing information down to the next generation, right? And it's because it's so new. The industry really is very, very new. It's still basically in its infancy. And so you don't have systems in place where the older dudes are teaching the younger dudes. And even in cases where you do, the younger dudes a lot of times are like, yeah, old timer, I got this. Like, they have their fresh ideas, and I've been playing games since I was 5. Time to let me do a thing, right? And it's like, yeah, and sometimes those guys are right. Sometimes, you do need a fresh new idea. But a lot of times, there's a lot to be passed down. It's like, yeah, we tried that. It didn't work. That's why I need to teach in some school. Lesson plans, that's what I'm all about. It's a problem in all industries, yeah. But the other industries have been around long enough where they've sort of figured out at least some plan for passing down the knowledge, right? Like, documentation, videos, whatever it is, like onboarding experiences for new people. Yeah, it's always a tug of war for sure between the old and the new, but I bet there's a lot of industries that have figured it out to some extent. Because, like, like a bank, right? Like, a bank can't really afford to, like, have the young guy come in and be like, we're changing everything. Oh, it didn't work, fuck. Like, they have to be pretty hardcore you know, indoctrinated. But yeah, obviously banking isn't like a creative endeavor, so it's kind of apples and oranges, but or is it surprising? That's right. Legal regulation. Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, there's none of that, or very little of that in gaming. It's picked up a little bit, especially internationally. Well, retail probably the biggest downfall of players. Yeah. They don't even believe in building design documents and the like. How do you pass down knowledge without something like that? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hate design documentation more than anything, honestly. But you guys are feeling the effects, right? Because I didn't write this shit down. It's all in here, and a few people I talked to, but most of them are gone. So it's just like, why are we doing any of this? They don't really know, and so when they deviate from the core principles, they don't understand why that messes up everything. And it's different when, like, when you can look at code, and it's a living example of how we did things. When you look at art, like you bring in a new artist, and you're like, okay, we need you to make art for this game. What style should I do? Well, here, look at the game. You know, like, that's our style. Like, it's literally, there's examples everywhere of how we do things. And so there may be some training on how to get you to adopt the style, what techniques we use to arrive at this end product, you know, that kind of thing. But there's no question of like, well, why do you do it this way? Or there's very little question about why, because design is way more complicated than that. And it's not visible. Like, there's a ton of things going on in design that are very, very hidden. And it seems like magic to a lot of people, but they don't respect how complex it is. So they think it's easy. Oh, you just do that. Why do people like this is the old classic. Why do people like going to dungeons and killing things? Because they like fat loot. Right? That's the reason they do it. That is the most like simplistic version for why people go do dungeons and raids and everything else, right? And it's just a terrible answer, right? But a lot of people legitimately believe that. And if you go in to like a design situation with that thought in your head, then, well, people aren't going to this dungeon. Well, they aren't liking dungeons or raids anymore. Why? They're like, well, because the fat loot isn't fat enough. You got to make the loot fatter. Right? That's going to be your answer every time. And that's not the problem. So your solution's not going to work. So Frontier Guild got first rag kill on hardcore. Wow. Just recently? Should their stamp be allowed to deviate away from what made the IP successful in the first place? Yeah. Yeah, and that's another tug of war, you know, like, I always bring up the comics example. It's like, well, I'm a new writer on this comic, or I'm making a movie, and I want to do my own thing. I want to be the first to do something different. I can't do this, retell someone else's story, the same old stories we've heard every time. Really, I got to show the freaking Batman's parents being shot in Crime Alley again? You know, like, Jesus Christ. Let me do something different. You're like, okay, you can do something different. All right, sweet. This time he's packing machine guns and he's killing all the villains, right? Like, what the fuck? You know, like, okay, well, you have to pay some respect to the Batman character, right? Like, so it's a tug of war, you know, like, yeah, tell your own story in a unique way, and, you know, hopefully you're creative enough to find a sweet spot, but yeah, you can't just completely change the whole thing that makes Batman Batman, you know, like, it's Batman if you were Frank Miller, right? Or Zack Snyder, yeah. I mean, I'm literally talking about Zack Snyder having Batman and Superman kill people. I'm going to be the first. Actually, Batman did kill some people in Christopher Nolan's Batman movies too, so I should give just Zack Snyder grief on that. But yeah, like, I do think it's your responsibility to pay respects to the original content and the creators and stay within some framework. But, you know, you have every right to want to put, you know, a unique, you know, stamp on it. Basically all his inspiration from Frank Miller comics, yeah. Pretty hardcore. And Frank Miller, great, he's done some great stuff, so appreciate. But yeah, it's I don't want to see everything ever made done through a Frank Miller lens, you know what I mean? He has his own stuff. Let him do that. You tell me Alan Moore is going to write a new Batman comic, I'm down. The new Batman comic has 6 different writers. I'm uninterested. Yeah. What up, Trunky Face? Annual KJ stream. I like to think of it as biannual, but sure. Yeah. Whatever makes you feel good. Why do so many want to change the inherent design philosophy that was instilled by the base game? Well, they want to improve it. Like, I don't think anyone's setting out to make the game worse. Like, and that was legitimately a belief, right? Like, weren't there a fair number of people who were like, oh, they're intentionally trying to tank it so that they can shut the studio, you know, that part of the studio down, or whatever it was, move on to something. I don't know what the conspiracy theories are saying, but I don't believe that anyone like sets out to like make the game worse. So it's a combination of focusing on the wrong things because you don't you want to do something really specific with the design, like making WoW a really raid oriented game, you know, and that comes with it tons of things that are now required. Now you have to make raiding accessible to everyone. It has to be fun for everyone, completable by everyone. You know, so that they get the story, and, you know, they can get the loots, and they can be in that same pool, and there's all the consequences with that, right? And so that's one thing, is like, I don't like all that other stuff. I just want it to be a raiding game, right? From minute 1 to, you know, minute 10,000. You know, I want it to be a raiding game. Then the other thing is not understanding the design at all, and you're sort of guessing. Well, how do we keep making more? How do we keep making good decisions? Every time a decision or a problem comes up, how do we push it forward? How do we evolve it and improve it and add to it in ways that are going to be interesting to our player base? If we don't understand the core design and the pillars that created this, then how are we going to continue to make good decisions bouncing off those pillars if we don't even know what the pillars are, right? So, but yeah, I don't think it's necessarily, like in WoW's case, a thing where they were like, let's really drive this thing off a cliff. What do you guys say? Yeah, sounds great. You want to see Barbie through the lens of Frank Miller? Yeah. Aren't there a lot of like AI? There's like a lot of AI videos. What if The Hobbit was done by Quentin Tarantino? That kind of thing. They're so good. Yeah, you probably get that pretty easy. $14 devs had after they had to take over.
Holy cow, it's a Christmas miracle.
Because I forgot the last The last stream I did was in December, and I forgot to pull out the hat. Thank you so much, Eating 24/7. Love your name. 27 months. Holy cow. There's the hat that I forgot to put on. A Christmas miracle. Thank you so much. I was 9 months in the waiting. Have I been playing DF at all? What's DF? Dark Forces? Dragonfly. Oh, no. What the? Darker came out. I haven't played it yet. How's that going? I haven't played since they added the new single player queue, the little Goblin Cave or whatever. That was a fun one. Dark Forces, yeah, that was a fun one. Does the hat live? It does. Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek. There was no way that was going to be a thing. There's no way. What? Didn't he say he was only going to make a certain number of movies? He's only doing one more? Do you think he was going to burn it on a Star Trek? Do you think he was going to go out on a Star Trek? What? Amazing. I'm not playing Hardcore Cult. Doing good, Krigath. How are you? I haven't seen the new UI system. Or no, I've been pretty checked out. I wasn't even gonna play Diablo 4, but then I was like, who am I kidding? I gotta see it. Oh man, what a mess! What a mess! The thing is, the story, the world, the cinematics. God damn. That's what hooked me. Actually, I watched somebody's video on YouTube of all of the cinematics, and I was just like, oh man, I gotta play this. Oh, it's over? How about best songs playlist? No. Blackpink full album? What else should we do? We should do the Seraphim. Yeah, that's right. I have teenage daughters. What about it? You want to come at me? Do you watch WoW Hardcore Death Clips? No, but I should. It's actually funny. Like, you remember that old series? What was it called? Faces of Death? Remember those old videos? They were like these weird, like, movies of people dying, supposedly in real life. That's what we get with WoW Hardcore. It's like that, but it's WoW Hardcore Deaths. It's hilarious. You have to see Graves for Days recent death. Put it in my channel. I'll definitely watch it. A Jordan Peele Star Trek. Check out the UI system sometime. I think you'd respect it. All right. Man, I was arguing with somebody about Skyrim's. They were playing Starfield, and they didn't like the UI. And a bunch of people in chat were like, it's fine, nothing wrong with the UI. And I was like, and I brought up Skyrim, and how Skyrim's UI was also pretty bad. And everyone was like, what's wrong with Skyrim's UI? Like, they got all offended. Like, I thought it was a bad game. Like, I thought it was a great game, but the UI is not the reason. And it's just so funny how I don't know, I get this weird feeling that people haven't played enough games sometimes, you know what I mean? Mods fix the UI, yeah, exactly. One of the first things, too. Yeah, that's what you said, not the will. How you doing, by the way? Nice to see you. Sure, blame the daughters. That's right. Sure, sure. But yeah, the UI just is not the thing to celebrate when you think of Skyrim, you know, like, and the thing about UI in general is it's like it's like background music, like it's doing the best job when you're just enjoying it and it's not standing out and like overwhelming your, you know, like when you're just not even thinking about it, you're just playing and, you know, like you don't it's just it feels natural and it works and you know like you're just not paying attention. It's the last thing in your mind because you're so immersed in the rest of the game. It's you know as soon as you notice the UI, you're in a bad situation, right? Because you're like it's usually like oh, it's not doing the right thing, right? It's letting you down in some way. So yeah, but it's like how many RPGs have you played? You know, like there has to have been one that's better than Skyrim, you know, right? And I couldn't think of any clear examples um, at the time. And it's like, yeah, it's just not. Have you played very many games? Like, have you played? Yeah, you don't know it's good, but bad UI sticks out. That's right. Yeah, and then also it's got that Baldur's Gate 3 thing going for it. Like, like I'm saying, it's like there are bugs in Baldur's Gate 3, but you forgive them because you're having such a great time. You only notice when it's shit. That's right, referee. That's so good. Yeah, the inventory system, right? Same with Witcher 3. Terrible. Terrible. Oof. It was so bad they ported the same UI to USO. Yeah, and good UI designers are high demand. There's not nearly enough, and so it's actually it's very challenging work. It's very challenging. Love the gatekeeping on how Elden Ring isn't real Dark Souls art. That's funny. Um, yeah, I respect some of it, but yeah, gatekeeping in general ridiculous. But it is an easier game only because of the pressure release on all the open world zones. Like you can power up everywhere else. Like powering up in Dark Souls, which was much more one-dimensional, you know. And in Dark Souls 2 is actually pretty challenging because they limited the respawns. It was like 7 times a zone could respawn, so there was only so much harvesting you could do. And even then, like harvesting doesn't make you that much better at the game. Like most of the getting better at the game comes from skill. It's up to you. So, yeah. Only Russians can play Tetris. It's hard. The thing I love about Tarkov, inventory, you know, management is because of the stressful environment. Like having to move things and search things and reveal things and find a place for things and rotate things in your pack, like that is so good for the experience because like you can get shot at any time, so that the pressure is real. Um, it's just Tetris like pressure. Like, oh my god, the block's coming down. I gotta find the right place for it. You know, like on crack, right? It's so good. So yeah. People think it's a thankless job, but I enjoy making little icons. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people think it's a thankless job, but it's so important. And yeah, so uh, yeah, very important and hard to get. Grace is all tabbing, playing another tune while in a dungeon. Caught up to him. Jeez. Deserved. You're the UI designer for MSG5 or MGS5. UI designer really takes a lot of work. Yeah. Yeah. Unsung heroes. Inventory system is part of the gameplay. Dark, yeah, same thing. See the, yep. Sounds like much. Yeah, so many people working thankless jobs. Battle Brothers had good UI. Battle Brothers is just, man, so good. What a game. What a game. And the only thing they skimped on? Legs. That's it. Legs. What do you feel about old school RuneScape UI? I haven't played that game, like, almost at all. I might have played it a while back for a very, very short time, but so I don't really remember. Skip the leg day. So true. See what you did there. Cheers. Pretty cool. Battle Brothers pretty cool. Please. It's one of the best games played in the last 10 years. Is it 5 years old or 10 years old? Best game in the last 5 years? I mean, it's the reason I'm here streaming. That game, I loved it so much I had to get online and stream and tell everyone how good it was. That's how influential Battle Brothers is to me. Ultima 7. Was Ultima 7 the UI for inventory that they used in Ultima Online? Because Ultima Online had crazy inventory. It was just a free-for-all with containers and placement and drag and drop. But yeah, that was also part of the experience. Because the great thing was, like, you could snoop in other people's packs. If you love, like, seeing inside the mind of other people, snoop in their pack would just tell you almost everything you needed to know about a person. This is how you organize. Are you kidding me? Versus like perfectly regimented and ordered. It's just like, oh, what do we got here? Oh, so good. Why do you have so much meat glue? That's right. What's up, Kinsky? Yeah, amazing. I like Battle Brothers, but the paragraph reading, walking around the map, was mid to me. Yeah, you could skip most of the paragraph reading, but I did find the writing to be well above average. I was pretty shocked at how good a lot of the writing was. But yeah, they do stop you. Walking around the map. Yeah, I mean they had to make time a thing. And they do have the little mini game of, you know, cars moving around, and if you crash into them, there's a fight, so you could dodge. And but yeah, it was a totally different experience, and not the best. Like that's not, especially for all of us like old school turn-based dudes that are just like, oh my god, reaction speed. Where'd that guy come from? Oh my god, I'm in a fight I didn't want. It's like, what? Did you ever consider allowing rogues to pickpocket from other players? Yes. We talked about that a lot. The problem was the economy of it. Like, does it come from other players? Like, they lose and you gain? Does it come from its own pool? Like, does it generate a loot table and it's not taken from, you know, the opposing player? You know, those were some of the discussions we had. Obviously, we talked about it would probably be PvP only, but it wasn't only PvP only. So how does that work? Like, it's a very complicated system. You know, can you pickpocket from allies essentially? It's totally missing. Oh my god, someone died. We gotta get their stuff. Yeah, right. And oh, you died. Can I have your boots? Right. That's the other thing. Died to my old Mary. Actually, damn it. This game's going straight to hell. Tell you what. What else do we have to talk about? Oh, did you see? Did you see? Oh, Jesus, now my history is full of black ink. Unusable. I probably shouldn't. No, I don't think I'll talk about that. I did talk about a video I saw recently on my Discord, but I don't want to go any further than that. Oh, so the one thing I thought that was interesting about what the tweets that were put out about Baldur's Gate 3 was how the concern of a lot of teams when it comes to convincing venture capitalists to fund their games or publishers to fund their games, and the language they have to use in order to get funding. And there is definitely some issues with that, because those people all want to hear you say, parrot basically the sort of formulaic plan on how to make me money, right? Which is, we're going to have this many MAUs, we're going to have the subscription cost of this much, these are going to be your net returns for this, like, here's how long it's going to take us to make the game, here are our deliverable schedule, you know, like, they want to hear, like, basically all the same things, and you're competing theoretically with other studios that are also all trying to say the same things, and so you can't legitimately go to a venture capitalist and be like, yeah, we're going to make a game, we're going to take our time, we're going to be honest, and we're going to be pure of heart and soul with our vision, and you know, whatever it takes, we're going to release it when it's ready, and we're going to take probably 6 years of 400 developers, right? And like, you can't use that language because you're not going to get funded, which, you know, I get it. I totally get it. And that is a problem with funding. But I still feel like there is a way, even in that regard, to convince a publisher that you know what you're talking about and it's worth investing in you. And you can convince them that we're the next Valheim, we're the next, you know, Baldur's Gate 3, we're the next, right? Like, there's got to be a way for you, and this requires a person at the company who is a salesman, right? Who is a convincer, right? And they can do this job of interacting with the venture capitalists or the publishers and be like, listen, we're gonna strike with the iron's hot, but we're also gonna do the thing that no one else is doing. We're gonna do this thing that makes a bunch of money because it's, you know, X, Y, and Z, right? I feel like there's a way to do that, but I understand, like, doing it, and again, this requires talent, this requires some expertise, and, you know, the whole basis for those tweets were like, yeah, we're pretty mediocre, and we want to make a thing, and we want to get in on this game industry money, but we're actually pretty average, and we're hoping you guys just give us a bunch of money anyway. And no, screw you, right? Like, you should get exactly what you deserve, which is the market telling you you're average and mediocre, and you're ultimately going to be a failure, right? Because that's what you deserve, right? Like, if you're going to put out mediocre shit, then you should get less than mediocre returns, right? That's how the industry should work. That's how the market should behave. The market's in a very bad place if you can put out mediocre stuff and make a ton of money, right? That's when it's operating poorly, right? And so again, like I respect and appreciate the difficulty in interacting with venture capitalists and the rat race of securing funding and all that, but add to your team someone who's a salesman, or have someone on your team that's a salesman, right? And another way of selling something is being really, really passionate about the thing that you're making too, right? Like, do you think, like, when you hear Sven talk about the game and you see his goofy RPG videos about process and stuff like that, like, doesn't his passion come across? And doesn't that get you hyped? And doesn't that make you a believer? You know what I mean? Like, versus the person who's just like so many of the videos you see from the Blizzard devs, they look exhausted, they look worn down, they look like we got to get in front of the camera again and apologize, or talk to a bunch of people that hate us, right? You know, that kind of thing, right? And that's not to say they don't have passion for what they do, but like, you can feel the excitement, you can feel, and it's infectious, and it's a big part of the sales thing, right? And so, I don't know, I feel like there's a way to convince venture capitalists based on some combination of you have some sales skill and you're super passionate and the team is super passionate about the thing that you're about to make or you're trying to make. And so, yeah. And if you're just another team with average talent, average to poor talent, and you're competing with all the other average to poor teams, so that like for venture capital money, and you're frustrated at the process because I can't figure out why they won't give us money. It's like, well, because you suck, like, maybe they can detect how you suck too, like, stop thinking it's like an easy way to make money, this industry. Like, it's not. It's really hard, like any other industry. You got to bring something. You don't just get a payday for showing up. And is this part of the, like, I hate to say this, but is this part of the everyone gets a trophy thing growing up? Like, 32 months. Thank you so much, BDS, for the tier 1. Appreciate you. Yeah, like, at some point, that generation that got a trophy for showing up, they're going to grow up to the point where they're working stiffs, right? Or are they going to bring that sort of level of expectation in? Is that a unique problem to certain areas of America that doesn't happen in, like, Europe, Like, is Europe gonna put out more games that are more solid, for a little while while we get past that sort of generation, right? I hate to cast aspersions on it, entire generations, but it's got to have had an impact at some point. Yeah, that whole getting a free thing for showing up, fuck that. What did your mom do this time? Oh man, don't get me started. Blaming and shame. Two poor ladies on, they were talking about everything else except the gameplay. Yeah. It was just really poorly orchestrated. There's a lot of bad decisions going on at a lot of levels there, I feel like. They could use a win, couldn't they? They just can't buy it. There's an argument to be made that what makes money is what's superior. Yeah, it's a pretty simple relationship. right? Like, and again, when the market is like that guy complaining about is basically complaining about the market. It's like, here's what you want. You want exceptional things to make a ton of money, disproportionate, right, amount. You want really bad things to make a disproportionate amount of negative, right? Like, I spent $100 million on a game and it's absolute garbage. It should make zero, and I should be in the hole $100 million, right? Basically, I should have flushed that money down the drain, and then, mediocre stuff should make like not quite what it made, so that they don't do it again. So they should make a little bit less than what they put in, right? This is the market like at its best. And then things that are above average should make enough to make the next one, in the hopes that they grow or develop or just keep doing like base hits, as they call them, right? That's the market functioning well, I feel like, because then you get quality, right? You tend to get quality, and the stuff that's mediocre just goes away, and he wanted to change that to, we'll put out mediocre and still get above average returns. And it's like, no, fuck that. Right? If you're average, you should go in the bin, basically. You should stop doing what you're doing. Right? So, yeah. If everyone had to be DS1 to join the game industry, wouldn't have this problem. We'd have totally different problems. Actually, that's a big reason, I think, why retail took a dive. Because, like, look at Ian. He is hardcore raider, and he turned it into a raiding game, and no respect for the little guy. Come to work, do things that are required. I wonder if USA employers play a passion game when they can't have holidays. Yeah. Did I finish the main story? How far did I get, guys? Endwalker? And then point 1? Did I finish point 1? Did I get partway through point 1? Yeah, I finished Shadowbringers or Endwalker base. If Blizzard hired you as an advisor for Classic Plus, what would be the first thing you would tell them? Put the breast milk down and walk away slowly. Yeah, that's the first thing. Woo! I won the cube crow. Yeah, it's a good one too. Oh yeah, that's a tough one. That's right. I'd give him my direct deposit banking information to put that 10 mil. That's how they select leadership. Yeah. Every game development always has very bad crunch time. Yeah. And a fair amount of it's due to bad planning, not properly understanding scope, the war between the developers and what they want to do and what the publisher demands. And then another big one is, at the end of the day, you have an option to work extra to squeeze in those last bits to make the game extra good, which, as a creative person who isn't swamped with real life stuff or other life things, they're happy to do, or just like let it go, be like, it's fine, ship it, right? Like, I think you'll find that most people that are passionate about the project in the first place are like, oh yeah, I'm staying. Fuck yeah. I'm staying weekends. I gotta finish this. I don't want this going out like this. And, you know, what you'll probably see if you talk to a lot of producers on teams full of passionate people is they literally have to tell people, get off the computer, go take a vacation, use some of your sick days, you know, like, and peel them away from their workstations, right, to get them to rest, right? And you know, that's a thing that a lot of companies are really excited to exploit, you know, like leadership like Bobby, you know, like, oh yeah, now we're talking. Um, and so, and the better companies with better producers and better management are probably like, they're finding intelligent, creative ways to manage that, right? Um, and to make it sustainable, right? So it's not all crunch is bad, you know, like, I know that's a lot of the sentiment from the outside looking in, but I feel like crunch is like, there's some understandability to why it happens, and especially with people that are really driven and obsessive, and you know, that kind of thing. You might know people behind future strategy game Stormgate, former Blizzard does. Trustworthy in terms of quality? I don't know. A lot of those guys came from the StarCraft 2 side, and I knew a few of them, but not a ton of them. Like, I don't know the big names there, or I knew their names, but I don't know them personally, and I haven't worked with them, so I wouldn't be able to give you any like, good advice one way or another, or good feedback one way or another. I'm hopeful. I think it's ridiculous to say the RTS genre is dead, which, you know, I think a lot of people might make that claim, but I think that's ridiculous. I just think it needs an evolution. I think it needs some time for people to miss it, and for some talented people to come up with a reason why we fell in love with it in the first place and take it to that next level, and boom. You know, like, I think we'll get right back to loving them if somebody makes up. So maybe it just needs that, you know, collective breath. So. Yep it. I should make a little ship icon, shouldn't I? The Prince of Nigeria reached out? Dang! Will you help that guy? He's a friend of mine. Yeah. Whether does the current Blizzard work twice hard to forget the pizza parties? Man, we were so sick of pizza. Holy cow. Factorio is debatably RTS. Yeah. What's that new? I was just looking at some game in early access.
Glad to see you back on stream. Been a while since I've caught you on at least.
I know, it's been 9 months. Thank you so much for the 9 months of Prime, Rhino. Appreciate it. DJ Lightning Rhino, to be exact. To be specific. Empire's 2 Definitive Editions, Master Pop on Steam, even still. Yeah, so there's still a lot of passion for good RTS, even nostalgia, right? Even just beyond nostalgia, I think. RTS evolved into MOBA, right? But I think there's still a place for RTS. That's like saying FPS, or like Team Fortress evolved into Battle Royale. Yeah, like, obviously Fortnite is huge, but does every gamer think Fortnite is better than Valorant? I can't imagine. So you seen or heard about Kitboga or Scammer Payback? Oh, I love Kitboga, yeah. I've watched him a few times, and it's been hilarious. I haven't watched him in a while. I haven't watched a lot of Twitch in a while, to be honest. I've been extremely busy, ridiculously. Real life is just, yeah, taking up my time. Very educational on scams. Yeah, I love it. My daughter just got scammed, but she got her money back. That was fun. My oldest has moved out and yeah, living her own life. Only calls me when things are bad, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, pretty good. That was an experience. It's not true either. She calls me all the time, even just to chat, which is so nice. And she's local, so I get to see her all the time. Still enjoy Counter-Strike the most, yeah. You don't like either, right? Goodbye, Moon Boots. Have a wonderful day. Chip, chip, cheerio. Is that what they say still? Hello, Governor. Have a merry old. Okay, I'm going to stop embarrassing myself. Lovely to chat with you. Do I plan on streaming more frequently? Yes. Did you buy Starfield? Well, you can get your refund anytime, so. That's my brain reacted to the empty nest. It's not empty yet, but yeah. It's definitely a stage. It definitely had me start thinking about things, you know, like, and yeah, it's some interesting thoughts. But there's no way in this day and age, right? Like, I have 3 kids. I mean, the odds of at least one of them living with me until they're 35 has to be 100%. You know what I mean? I mean, doesn't it? I mean, you people are young. You know how it is. I mean, that's even assuming one isn't like a base dwelling nerd, you know? Basement dwelling nerd. Test games day 1 bugs, yeah. But the thing is, we would forgive it if it were as good as Skyrim, we'd probably forgive it. You know what I mean? Like some people would be like, oh, look at this, oh, look at this animation, looks like shit. You know, like they spend their whole time talking about that, but the rest of us would be having fun running around doing Fusro Da, right? Like soaking up the pure enjoyment of the good things about the Skyrim experience. So, but yeah, it's not that. It's just not that. Did you see the viral Great Depression economics versus 2023? No. Feel space just hard, it's all empty. Yeah, I recently was talking about, you know, ship travel in games, like boats, right? We didn't do a boat expansion because one of the worries was, well, how do we fill the wide open seas with content, you know? Like, it's the same reason, like, you know, flying kind of sucks, right? When it gets right down to it. Because there's not enough three-dimensional content, you know, to go explore and interact with and react to and navigate and all that. So the open sea is pretty boring. and you got to fill it with something. Well, space is even worse. Like, it's even harder. And the expectations on space too are like, you know, traveling speed beyond light speeds and going through wormholes, and yeah, like the expectations are they're way more vast as well. And it's just so fucking boring flying around, you know. Unless you fill it with something that happens, you know. So yeah, it's a challenging job, and to think that it can be done well by programmatically generated content is no. People are lying to yourself. AI will save it. No. No. We're a long way off. So that's why you brought up open seas and discovered against Eldering, yeah. Because yeah, we talked about the first expansion was in the early stages, not TBC, but the Goblin Island. What's it called? Yeah, we were going to do goblins and golems, and we were going to sail around. And yeah, but they were like, boats kind of suck. Goblins are awesome, and we were going to do golems for the Alliance. But yeah, and they were like, yeah, fuck it, let's just do the Dark Portal. And they don't even have Gundams, right? Even if Cyberpunk is good now, I'm not coming back to that game. Well, yeah, you gotta finish Witcher 3 first, right? Goblin Pirate expansion sounds pretty fun. Yeah. So, you know, I haven't played any of Sea of Thieves, but how did they, I mean, because there's PvP, but how else do they make sailing interesting? Like, how much content is there? Are there just a million islands? Like, a billion tons of POIs that you just, they have random encounter spawn on you? Okay. Okay. Or is it a lot of empty space? Where it's just like, cool. Lore accurate mermaids? Oh man. With Alan having returned to the company a few years ago, do you think their new secret developments for our game might be able to capture a little bit of the old Blizzard magic? Maybe. Obviously a lot more moving parts, but yeah, I mean, like the things I don't know about Alan are, like he's a pretty obsessive person once he gets connected. So assuming he's connected, which is a fair assumption, then yeah, he's going to make sure that it's really highly polished and you know, that is the thing you still get from Blizzard games is a high level of polish, right? Like there's a lot of lipstick on some of these pigs, you know what I mean? Like and so, but yeah, like I just don't know who else is around him. Like, because I don't think he can do it by himself. I think he's very good at some things and needs help with other things. So I think, and I don't know who else is around him. So we'll see. Because so much of the talent is left, you know, like so much. Oh, see, I bounced off Black Flag pretty hard. I did not like the sea combat. I was like, well, I have a feeling that's going to be a pretty core part of this experience. I was like, fuck this. What does polish mean in modern games? To be from Poland. That's right. Speed of iteration, run some code files, let's see if there's errors, tweak file, tweak file. Sales on the same privilege. Then we get the privilege to iterate frequently enough without massive risk. How do you deal with that? I'm a lame, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, it is tough, and there can be a ton of distractions. I don't think the testing phases are used properly for almost all games, like betas and early access. I think they're used as marketing tools rather than testing. You know what I mean? And with that in mind, and because of that, like, you don't get enough like proper testing for a lot of your game design theory. See if it's working. What's your advice for dev who wants to make RTS in space? Well, RTS is more about, well, it's about totally different things. You're not really exploring, unless you're talking about a very different kind of RTS. It's merging other types of game experiences. But yeah, like for RTS, it's like, where is the enemy and where are the resources? Those are the two things that matter most. And so the time to find the enemy and the time to find the next resource matters a lot. And yeah, if you make that time too long, then, you know, it can feel boring, especially if, like, you're not busy building your base while your scout is going off in a direction, you know. But yeah, it's a complicated thing. Cycle testing and polishing phases. Yeah, they probably do them internally, but for some things it's like you need a big group. And I feel like the communication between QA and developers is also really strained. Like in some places just like severed completely. Like they don't want the two talking at all except through the bug databases, you know. And like there will be like a suggestion box. Here's what I think of your design. And either like the designer doesn't have time to even look at that because he's so busy with all the giant list of bugs that he has to fix, or again, like the company sort of really discourages design feedback. So here's one of the big problems, right? With like, if you don't build a beta, for example, let's just say a beta 1, we want to put out this thing, we want to put it in the hands of players, we want them to try it, and they wanted to give feedback, right? And the marketing guys are like, okay, well, let's make sure it looks really pretty. We have some really cool videos we can take of like playable stuff, but there's some really obvious bugs, so that as soon as players go off the beaten path, they encounter these bugs, but that doesn't make sense or it doesn't bother the marketing guys because they're doing something really specific. So they're fine releasing it in a state where as soon as players go off the beaten path, they light on fire. Right? We set them on fire, and that's the bug, right? Now their whole play experience is they're on fire. Marketing guys want the game beta to come out in October because that's when their hype arc is perfectly timed, but the game has this really problematic bug, you know, where as soon as they get off the beaten path, it sets them on fire, right? But in off the beaten path is something very important that they need to test, right? And they put the game out in October to satisfy the marketing guys. and they don't put the game out after they've fixed the lighting on fire problem, so that the designers can get good feedback on the rest of the gameplay. And so players do what you expect. They go off the beaten path, they light on fire, and then they try to do the other experiences anyway. But guess what all the feedback is about? All the feedback is about how the second I step off the path, I'm lit on fire. You don't get any of the feedback you actually needed, which was evaluating the game experience while not on fire, right? That happens off the beaten path, right? And so you've wasted that entire beta in terms of like the designer's needs. Marketing guys are happy. Most of the people, you know, are getting the marketing push and the videos and all the people that weren't invited to the beta. And some of the streamers see the like, you know, lighting on fire as soon as I go off, but they're kind of like, yeah, whatever, it's a beta, you know, they forgive it because they're having fun on the beaten path or whatever. But again, as a beta tool for the designers, it was actually terrible. It was a poor, very poor testing phase for them. They didn't learn anything. So they got no useful information. So they just moved to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. And if they don't get some good testing, and they might very well release the game with no good feedback on that experience that they needed testing on, because it was never set up to deliver a good testing scenario, right? So, yeah, that can be one of the basic problems. So they have to be designed for feedback very, very specifically. They have to be turned off as soon as they're done collecting that feedback. You know.
My grandfather was an engineer. He saw the Titanic and he told people it was going to sink. He warned them, but nobody listened. He only stopped
when they kick him out of the movie theater. Very nice, Mabel. Thank you so much for the 59 months. One of our OGs. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. TTS never gets to the end of your jokes. I am going to refill my drink, and I will be back in just a couple of minutes, guys. Thank you so much for the tier 1 forever, Mabel. I really appreciate you. Be right back. back. One final note on that testing thing is, all right, so you have the beta test conclude. Everyone was on fire. Didn't get any good feedback. It goes on a few more times. Game launches. If the designer was talented and knew and was confident in his designs, then all is well. It's going to work out. It's going to work out well. If he's not talented, it's going to go down really horribly, and things are going to be completely broken once you release, right? So it can go either way, and most people can't tell the difference between those two designers, right? People that work on the team, people that are, producers or managers or whatever it is, can't tell the difference between, because they're both confident about their design. They both speak intelligently, you just don't know if they're full of shit until right, the rubber hits the road, right? And then you find out, and that's why, like, those tests are really important. But a lot of times, yeah, they're not utilized to benefit the designers and the game design. They're designed to benefit marketing and getting people to buy the game and feed the hype machine, which to some extent is more important, because a lot of them are just want to get your money, make it difficult for you to refund, and then they don't care if you hate it. 2 weeks later they have their money. And so they have to be appealing long enough for them to get your money. And then who gives a shit? So and consumers buy the next hype game next month anyway. Yeah. And then we laugh and joke about what a failure it was. And meanwhile, like, Diablo 4 made a ton of money, right? Has anyone gotten their money back from Diablo 4 besides Whoopi Goldberg? So they've kept a lot of that money. They're doing just fine. Bobby's pretty happy. And the thing about it is, we're supposed to learn also, like, how many times, like, are you going to buy the next Diablo thing? Right? Probably, right? Like, if you're being honest, you might be saying, oh, no, fuck no, I learned my lesson. I'm never going to go out drinking again. As you sleeping in the bathroom, leaning over the toilet, you know what I mean? Never drinking again. I genuinely learned my lesson, yeah. That's good. Like, there are a few, but you're in the minority, like, I think a lot of people are just like, oh, fuck, I gotta see it. All the same hype is going to be there next time. I thought maybe they could pull it off. Yeah. I mean, some of you were optimists, right? So, it's still ridiculously efficient in terms of entertainment dollars, I spent, what, 70? Was it $70? I didn't do the pre-release, extra money for the pre-release, but I still spent 70, and I played it for, I don't know. Did I play it for 70 hours? Maybe. But I definitely got my money's worth compared to any kind of other entertainment. So, even though, yeah, ultimately disappointing. Without Diablo Immortals bringing new players into franchise, right? The fact PoE 1 was being worked on by 8 people this whole time is insane. Yeah, I don't think that's being entirely genuine. Like maybe maybe the core team is that big without counting any support staff. Does that count like people that helped out during like I don't know. There's a lot of ways that number might not be accurate. You could like technically get away with saying it, but it's like not really true. I believe the number is small, and that's the takeaway you should have, you know, like compared to what Diablo 4 probably took, you know, or PoE 2 for that matter. Who knows how many people? But yeah, like I don't think it should come as a surprise that a small number of really passionate, really dedicated, really talented people can do amazing things compared to an entire mob of people. Like that shouldn't come as a surprise. Right? So yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know. As a consumer, don't fall into the same trap that a lot of companies fall into, which is, well, we just need to get 100 people in here, and then we can make some really big things. No, that's just not how it works. I'm sorry. That is not how it works. Movie ticket is like 15, yeah, just to sit down. And then if you want popcorn, it's like 75. But it's all the popcorn you can eat. Last time I went to the movie theater, what did we see? Little Mermaid, I think? No, Barbie. We saw Barbie. I ordered 2 popcorns, and the girl said, I'll bring you 1 popcorn with a couple extra bowls. So there were 3 of us. And I was like, well, what the? Saves me from having to feel bad. Because 3 of us were going to eat popcorn. I figured, you know, I'll get 2. I'll split the difference, you know. So I'm not min-maxing their messed up system. And the girl was just like, no, just get 1. She was in on it. I was like, I don't know if that's normal or because it's bottomless popcorn. I mean, the shiz. I was pretty impressed. I was blown away by this Inscription games. Part about discovering what the game really is, and I love it. I think I saw the Steam thing. I think it's on my wish list. But yeah, it sounds awesome. Couldn't imagine playing through the campaign again, let alone every 3 months. Right. Who's excited for the Grimdark expansion? What if you ordered 1.25 popcorns then? How do you order a quarter of a popcorn? Grim Dawn. What did I say? Grim Dawn? Grim Dark. Wait, what is it called? Grim Dawn? What did I? What did I? Grim Dawn. That's what the game's called, right? Yeah, Grim Dawn. Okay. One-third of a popcorn. Okay. 1/3. I'm eating all I want. It's over. All right. K-pop's over. I'm done. I gotta go to bed, people. But man, this was fun. We should do it more often. See you next year. Grim Dawn was better to recapture D2 feeling than Blizzard. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my feed is just full of K-pop now. Oh, I'm so happy. So happy. My annual stream. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate you all. Yeah. Oh, the news about your mom is she's now in a K-pop group. Yeah, I don't know if that's good news for you or bad news, but yeah, that's the news. Yeah, I'd love to do this again sometime. I don't know why you guys have been so distant. Jeez. But yeah, lovely. Lovely seeing you. Lovely chatting. Thank you all for the absolutely crazy, like crazy subbing. The people that are subbing to me are, you're legitimately crazy at this point. You're just like, I hope you like went to the little thing and canceled it as soon as you finished it, because you know that I'm not going to be back for potentially a long time. But I appreciate it so much. I do appreciate it. It's very nice, very generous, but you gotta be out of your mind. The thing with the sub thing, button is available on every stream. I know. Every single time. There it is. Appreciate you guys so much. Yeah. I'll show up when there's something to talk about. You know? And there's never anything to talk about in the games industry. I mean, Blizzard never does anything stupid, or there's never a massive disappointment. There's never a huge game coming out. What's everyone's next big game they're waiting for? Mine is Rogue Trader. Ashes, Payday 3, PoE 2, Cyberpunk DLC, Helldivers 2. Nice. Star Ocean 2 remake. Cata Classic. Show yourself out. Elder Scrolls 6, New Advanced Wars. AC Mirage. Starfield Pronoun. Is that an expansion? Stalker 2, hell yeah. Streets of Rogue 2, Space Marine 2, Half-Life 3, Overwatch 3. Oh, you got a Hardcore Classic. Yeah, that'll keep you. XBG 3 playthrough. Wow. Finished one. Potionomics. Nice. Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for Rogue Trader. Oh, I'm so pumped. Who's on your team? You guys saw the companion video? What's up, Deja Blue? Catching me at the end here. Who's on your team? It's got to be the Astartes. It's got to be the sister. Yeah, there's a video that shows like your some of the potential companions. I don't think it's a full list, but it's like all the obvious ones. Gotta have the sister. Gotta have the Adeptus Astartes. Gotta have the Inquisitor. That's 4. I don't know if the party size is 5 or 6. So I only get 2 more. Book of Hours. Ooh, oh yeah, I did see that. I never got around to trying it, but I played Cult Simulator a lot. That was a really fun game. Very different. Another one in that vein is, oh, what the hell's it called? I can't remember. Anyway. No Cheater Edition? Ooh, that would be fun. But yeah, fun. Yeah, there's an alien. There's a navigator, there's a psyker, and then there's an Eldar sniper girl. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, heresy. Xeno's in my party. Come on. And then also, like, I don't know, is anyone else getting like a little exhausted by Sniper Girl Sniper Girl template trope? I'm getting a little tired of it. Have I played Baldur's Gate 3 yet? I have. Oh man, I should have told you some of the stories. My playgroup got up into. We all played gnomes. We were 3 gnomes. We did kind of evil things. It was nutty. We got up into some pretty funny adventures. Absolutely ridiculous. Mail order monsters. Think they're going to put in another long and convoluted romance option like the last 2 games? I don't know. I haven't played either of the games long enough to actually romance anyone. Those games are long. And I end up usually getting distracted. Because I do everything. So, like, I don't beeline the main quest. There's tons of side quests, tons of side activities, and so I get, let's see, how many hours do I have in those games? The shit? Alright, let's see. So Kingmaker, I have 254 hours. That's probably across like 6 different characters, though. Wrath of the Righteous, I have 327 hours. Also across. Okay, because I'll be playing, right? I'll be playing and it'll be like, oh man. And then you can, like, Wrath of the Righteous, for example, you can play for a while and then you get to your, like, mythic choice, you know? And I wasn't even at the mythic choice thing yet, which is like your super character class. Like, you have your regular character class, your prestige classes, and all that, but then you have your, like, super, and it's based on decisions that you make and your alignment and, you know, all kinds of things. And there's a bunch of them. And you get different play experiences with each of them, right? So I got to that one undead vendor who randomly shows up. And I remember him from the other game too. I get to him, and he has a bunch of dialogue options, and one of the dialogue options says, Lich, for the Lich class, or the Lich mythic class. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with this playthrough. I can be a freaking Lich? Are you kidding me? So that was an instant restart. I played that one for a while, got to the Lich, and then I found there was another one. And then you also bump into a character where he's a Hell Knight. He's this little shitty little gnome Hell Knight. But the Hell Knights are so cool, and they're basically Space Marines, but in a fantasy setting. And I'm like, well, fuck, I gotta be that. So that's another playthrough. And I started as a Hell Knight, you know. I'm like, okay, here we go. And then, you know, and then I find out about all the other options. And so, you know, 300 hours later, and I've only ever really gotten to, like, the second part, you know, probably the mid-game, Act 2. I've never finished, and so yeah, I've got like nine different characters. I found you can be like a dragon mythic playthrough. So I made, what did I make? Lovey Straza. That was the name I gave like my girl dragon, girl who would be a dragon. Lovey's the character name I always use, and then added Straza to it. Got, I don't know, some way with her, and then I don't know. Yeah, I get distracted. Kevistraza, that's right. Don't worry, I'm gonna finish them all. Finish them all. Don't you worry. The best subversion of a gnome ever, yeah. He actually was a pretty cool character. But, really? Gnome? Come on. Like, 'cause he's supposed to be scary, and he actually is a very competent combat performer, you know, because of the stats, but still. It's like, you realize I could just drop kick you into another plane, right? Like, come on. Come on. I think Metzen and Longdale are announcing about WoW BlizzCon. Did Metzen go back? He's like advising or something? Or is he like full time? What was that? I don't know who Longdale is. Did he get sick of retirement? He's back. Oh. Well, there you go. He's got a pretty big role. With what, though? Well, their new games? All the games? Really do have to. Well, there you go. Well, you get some voice. You get a good voice at BlizzCon. Make announcements. Oh, Holly. Holly Longdale. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. I haven't been blown away by her. One of the few things was just like, how great. What now? Oh, the boost. How great boost was in TBC Classic. That whole round table. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, your friends, all your friends that were only gonna play if they had a boost. Are they still playing? Oh no, they gave up after a week. Yeah, what a shock. I skipped TBC because the boost and Xeno offender. No, is he someone that offends Xenos, or is he a Xeno and an offender? I don't know what that is. Demon hunter, you know? Well, paying to not play content is the best kind. Yeah, it really is. They should have made Classic Plus, but how? How would they? How would they make it? Would it be good? Can they make it good? Are they capable? Caddis Classic Plus. There you go. What's up, Nancy? Nice to see you. Private servers managed to pull some interesting dungeons. Why wouldn't Blizzard? Yeah, you would think. They should hire them. Refill. Alright, guys, seriously though, go to bed. No, you hang out. No, you hang out. Alright. Good night, guys. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I gotta get some sleep. I must go. Good night. Have a wonderful today. Tomorrow. Good night.